Welcome to Backpacker Radio, presented by The Trek. Today is December 18th, Flake Appreciation Day. Hey, I'm your co-host, Zach Badger Davis, and sitting to my right is...
I am Juliana Chauncey, a.k.a. Chaunce.
How do you interpret that?
I would like to think because of the timing, it's like snowflake.
That was the image that was used.
The nice snowflakes falling down.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe you appreciate your friends that flake on you.
Yeah.
This one day only.
Would you consider yourself a flake?
No, I would consider myself non-committal.
So that way, if you don't show up, you're not flaking on plans. You never were invested in the first place.
Yes, if I say yeah, I'll go, I will go.
Yeah.
But if I don't know if I'll want to go, then I will be an on the fencer until it's like crunch time, and then I'll make a game time choice.
Yeah, that is accurate for me too. I used to be better about even committing to things, but now with all of the excuses at my array.
Yeah, you've got a lot to blame things on, so you're pretty good. You faked pink eye the other day.
I'm so shocked that didn't become a bigger issue in my house, because apparently it's extremely contagious, and it didn't extend beyond one person. So
my eyes are great.
Yeah, there we go. Reminders of any kind before we get to our interview. We've got a few for you. You've probably heard this in prior ads on the podcast, because you guys don't fast forward ads. I know that about you, and we love that about you.
That's right about you.
Yeah, is that Chauncey and I's book bundle, signed copies of Appalachian Trials and Hiking from Home. Actually, I think we're doing it. You get to choose between Pacific Crest Trials and Appalachian Trials.
Yeah, what we've learned is you've written too many books.
It's a lot of books.
Yeah.
And really only 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
You get to choose between one of those two. Chauncey's including a signed copy of Hiking from Home, and we're doing this at the discounted rate of $35, which is a hell of a deal.
Yeah, for both signed copies.
Hell yeah. Your last chance to get this is going to be January 15th. So if you haven't pulled the trigger and you're interested, I encourage you to get on that ASAP. The other thing we will beat over your head is that if you guys want even more Backpacker Radio content, we release a Patreon-specific episode on the first Wednesday of each month. This month's was us calling people via Google Voice. You guys submitted your phone numbers to us through a form, and we called you, and it was a good old time. We haven't actually recorded the episode yet, so we can't give like exciting specifics on that, but we've done this in the past, and it was fun.
Yes. I like it because then we get to know our Patreon people a little bit better.
I've already scrolled through the spreadsheet of people who've submitted their information, and there's an input for them to just give us an interesting fact or story about themselves, and there's some good ones.
Oh, I cannot wait.
There's a few that I hope pick up our phone call. And the last thing here is we have a new website, newish. It's been out for about a month or so. If you go to backpackerradio.com, you get everything you need Backpacker Radio. We got all of our episodes. You can get involved with the mailbag. You can find our merchandise. What else is there?
You can submit a voicemail. You can enter a poop story. You can find all the other socials we post things on. You can get a backlog of episodes. Did you see that part? Like you could scroll back through all the ones that have ever been posted.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's nice catch-all for all the things BPR.
Backpackerradio.com. And yeah, let's just get to our interview. What do you think?
Sure.
We are joined by, I don't know if I know your trail name, Nick Fowler. What's your trail name? DJ. We'll get a story there in a second. Nick Fowler went from 1 to 2 mile day hikes in 2019 to setting the self-supported PCT FKT this past summer. Nick has also hiked the Arizona Trail, the Hayduke, the Pacific Northwest Trail, which he set another FKT on, and plenty of other high-altitude training miles across Utah, the Sierras, and the Rockies. Nick, a.k.a. DJ, thank you so much for joining us here on Backpacker Radio.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So he's fresh in from Oklahoma. Where do we even begin? So we'll start here. In your email outreach to us, you promised funny poop stories. What do you got?
Well, they're all from the the funniest ones I think I have are from the PCT.
Okay.
That's okay.
That's perfect.
Which one should I start with?
Definitely the most embarrassing.
The most embarrassing one? What if I'm not ready to share that one?
We provided you with alcohol, so...
It's not open yet.
Oh, well, that's the problem. There we go.
All right. Okay, so there was one time You know, like if you're on a part of the trail that's got steep ledges on both sides, like steep, talus slopes, so there's not really anywhere to dig a hole. Okay, so when I was on the PCT, I was eating 10,000 calories a day, and when I'm doing that, my body doesn't really give me much of a warning when it's time to go. And so when it hits, I know I have like 2 minutes, and I'm nowhere near anywhere to dig a hole. And so I'm just like squeezing my butt cheeks, waddling along the trail as fast as possible. And then I find a large piece of bark. About the size of
yeah, don't get any
that one
ideas.
on the wall.
Don't get any
Leave
ideas.
our art alone.
Yeah, we like that.
And so I popped a squat in the middle of the trail, took a poop on the piece of bark, and then I carried the plate of fresh pie down the trail until I could find a way to properly dispose of it.
Please, please, please tell me that you crossed paths with another hiker during this.
I did not.
Was this like an egg balancing spoon game? Like, are you like trying to keep it from falling off, or was
Absolutely.
it? Wow.
Because I don't want to have to re-scoop it.
Did you take a picture of it?
No.
How would you describe the consistency of said dump? Because I imagine a clean log would be so much harder than something that was a little bit more steamy, loafy.
It was actually pretty clean.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a balancing act.
It was solid, so... And there was no rolling.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
that's what you're
That's what
going
I'm
for.
asking. Yeah.
There was no rolling.
Okay.
It was stationary.
Yeah. We'll have you draw a diagram for us after the
How much more do you poop when you're eating 10,000 calories a day versus like regular poop?
2 big ones a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Same time or just kind of whenever?
Yeah, usually about the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it
Within a few hours of each other.
yeah. Is it discernibly different than your other backpacking dumps when you're not consuming 10,000 calories?
Yeah. Yeah. They're massive.
Yeah, I believe. The backpacking dump is a really cathartic feeling. Like, I'm in a good mood for at least 5 minutes afterward because it's so necessary.
Yeah, I think they're my most enjoyable.
For sure. It's like 5% of an orgasm.
I think it's the squat.
It is the squat. Sometimes, never mind.
No.
No.
Go on.
I sometimes like it when you're home, you just want to like be out there squatting like that. So sometimes I'll just like pop. Sometimes I'll pop the heels up onto the toilet seat so that it just like feels like that.
Feels more natural.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar with the squatty potty, right?
Yeah, but that's different. Your feet aren't like
Yeah.
as high up. I mean, granted, I'm not like sitting with my ass on the ground when I'm outside.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's nice to just stick your heels up and relax.
I'm picturing Sean's like a gargoyle on the toilet seat.
With heels on.
Yeah.
Well, right now I'm getting ready for dinner, but it's kind of like that. And then you're just sitting there and you're having a nice time.
Yeah.
You can go through a little scroll. You're comfortable.
This is a good time to plug the YouTube for anyone that wants to see. Cool. Any other poop stories that you want to touch on before we get to the chronology here?
So that kind of actually leads into the next one. So I pulled my quad in the Sierra on the PCT. And if you pull your quad, you can't bend at the knee, which means you can't squat.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm having to invent all different types of techniques.
Yeah.
Like the breakdancer move, like where you got one leg straight out, hang on a tree branch, lean on a boulder, and then your aim gets off. Like, oh, that's not where the cat hole is.
Yeah. There's some work that needs to be done after the release for the weapon to hit its target.
Yes. Yeah.
So you gave a name to that one pose. Did you have other poses that you're working with?
I tried another one where I was like trying to rely on my trekking poles to keep me up. That did not work.
It's a risky game because if that goes out,
It went out.
Did you fall in your shit?
I got close.
Oh, okay.
I got close. Yeah. I was like I was preparing to begin, and then that's when I lost my ground. So if it had happened like 15 seconds later, it would have been bad.
I want to hear. I hope someone submits this poop story book plug. I want to hear a story from someone.
I heard butt plug. Sorry.
Poop story book.
You said it correctly, but it just
I heard it too.
What I'm learning from this year's episodes is you are fascinated with things in butts. Because this has come up a couple times.
Butt plugs?
No, just things in butts.
I mean, aside from me being fascinated with poop, duh. I'm curious what else.
I don't recall. I just
Okay.
remember bringing that up before.
Yeah.
Thinking on the spot is hard. But I want to hear a story from someone who has done that. Because I've done the trekking pole lean back too.
Mhm.
But I want to hear from someone who has done that and had that be the moment their trekking pole snaps.
Yeah.
Because I've heard stories about trekking poles snapping. Like, that's a common story.
I've witnessed
that
many a
moment-
trekking pole snapped. Never mind. But yeah, that would be,
Fear, panic, anger, all in one.
yeah. Yeah, using a crutch to take a dump, and then just the feeling of betrayal in that process
Yes.
would be really bad, really bad.
The lack of trust moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, back to you. So obviously, what I covered in your bio, I think what is very interesting is that obviously you set a PCT FKT this year, but it was 4 years ago that your hikes were only 1 to 2 miles in length.
Mm-hmm.
Walk us. So prior to 2019, you are not doing any backpacking trips prior to just like short day hikes.
No, yeah, I was clean cut, shaven, suit and tie. I did not look like this at all.
For those who are not watching on YouTube, and you really should be, we're looking at dreadlocks, a shortish beard. I'd say the beard is.
It's not a beard. I just don't like.
You just don't shave.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll call it Denver formal.
lazy.
Yeah, but the dreadlocks I think are the standout thing relative to being someone that is described.
So they're
as
not
clean cut.
actually on purpose. Like, whenever I started getting into hiking, I just stopped cutting my hair and I don't brush it, and I wash it maybe once or twice a year.
A year?
You got a problem with that?
No, trust me, if anyone is not that clean,
Chance
it's
is,
me.
Chance is our pro not showering.
Yeah, I'm our resident lack of washing hair person. But what 1 to 2 times a year? Does it start to get gross at any point? How do you know when it's time for a wash?
That depends on your definition of gross.
I guess what
Because most people look at my hair and they think it's gross automatically.
how do you know when it's time to wash it? Let's put it that way. Like for a 1 to 2 a year, 1 to 2 times a year regime.
So let's say I'm gone on a canyoneering trip, technical canyoneering, and I'm swimming through nasty, muddy water, and I have dirt caked on my scalp. That's time to wash my hair.
You come out looking like Predator or something like that.
Literally.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, I aspire to that.
I mean, I rinse it out.
My last hair wash was 1 week ago today, so I'm on the once a week schedule. But
Chance shamed me for being hygienic, so she's
When?
definitely on your side. What was it? It was that you stink more if you shower more often. I forget exactly what.
your scalp doesn't naturally regulate the oils because
That
you
part I
keep
know.
stripping it with the shampoos.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That part I
See,
know.
I'm on your side.
There
So
was
you're
a
just-
different disagreement. It wasn't. I don't even know how to describe it. It was during Mandy's
Look,
episode.
back in the day, people didn't shower all that often, and it was considered weird how frequently.
It's also conceivable that maybe they didn't smell awesome.
Yeah, maybe.
But Zach, hear us out. Think if you don't wash your hair that often, think about how much money you save on shampoo.
Oh, I don't get haircuts that often for that exact same reason. The same
Well, you're
premise.
both shaving on shampoo because your hair doesn't go down to your belly button.
Yeah. I shower frequently, not because I'm a hygienic freak, but I spend a lot of time in the sauna. So if I don't, I smell pretty terrible. My wife makes comments. I do
Yeah.
it to preserve my marriage. It's
Well-
cheaper to shower than it is to do marriage therapy.
I spend hardly any time in the sauna, so it's a little different.
Yeah. I sweat a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's necessary for me.
After the PCT, I was zapped, just laying on the couch, and I only took 1 shower in the entire PCT. So I'm
That's a story.
I'm already used to not bathing on a regular basis, and there was one day my wife came up to me and she was like, I would really love it if you took a shower sometime in the next few days.
Yeah. When was your most recent shower today?
Before I came here.
Wow.
Okay.
I didn't want to stink for you guys.
I was going to say, I didn't smell you at all. I was hoping you said April or something like that. I'd be like, this guy is just a not smelly guy, but you showered recently.
on purpose for you guys.
Well, I
That
appreciate
is kind.
Because
Yeah.
I have come back from a trip to meet friends, and they're like, Nick,
Yeah.
Like I can be pretty ripe.
So
Same.
jumping back a scooch, how did you go from clean cut corporate guy to not? What was the transition?
So my wife and I, we went on a year-long road trip to see every national park. It was a 10-year anniversary present to each other. We liked it so much, it turned into like 2.5 years. And, and then, that was, in 2019, 2020, COVID. And, so we're just basically in the backcountry. That's our social distancing. And I just fell in love with big miles. Like at the beginning of that, like a 2-mile hike would kick my butt. And then at the end of the first year, we were up to like 10 to 15 mile hikes. And I felt so proud of myself. I'm like, I can hike 15 miles. And then I tricked myself into a 32-mile day hike on accident because I didn't know how to read maps.
So you got lost.
No, I wanted to touch 2 different glaciers. I didn't want to see them. I wanted to touch them. And I'm like guessing on a map, thinking it's probably going to be like 22 miles. And I'm like, okay, that's way more than I've ever done before. But I'm going to touch some glaciers. This will be awesome. It was 32 miles. So I couldn't walk the next day. I was so sore. But then after that, I was like, that was awesome. And pretty much ever since then, if it wasn't more than 30 miles in a day, I wasn't really interested.
When in that hike did you, well, first off, where was the hike? But then secondly, when in the hike did you notice my math was not correct?
Probably like 3 or 4 hours into the hike. It was in Glacier National Park. It was Gunsight Pass, which is nearly 19 miles one way. And it has 2 side hikes off of it to touch 2 different glaciers. And when I got to the first turnoff for the first glacier, it said, I think it said like 1.9 miles to the viewpoint, not to the glacier, but to the viewpoint. And I was thinking it was going to be like 1 mile to touch it. And so I'm like, oh, that's more. All right, let's do this. This will be fun. And then the next one was nearly 7.5 miles round trip added on to it. But it was amazing.
Do you think that like that kind of rush of maybe like I've got to get back before sunset, or I've got so much more to do than I thought I did, like something about that pressure and speed element led to you getting this drive to go faster and farther?
No, it was the rapid changing scenery. Like, you get to see, the personality of this forest on this side of the pass. It's different on the other side. And if you go far enough back in the wilderness and early enough in the day and late enough in the day, you get to see a bunch of big animals. And you go far enough back in the wilderness that you get to see it come alive. And it's inspiring. I like outside. And I don't feel like you get to truly experience outside the way it was meant to be unless you go far enough back into it.
What was your first big animal sighting?
Like on the trail, like not
Yeah.
from a car.
Yeah.
I think it was a moose.
Can you tell us about it?
Massive monster. Yeah, it was actually probably like 15 feet away from me. There was 2 of them, and so we just like stared at each other. And sometimes I probably get too close to wild animals, but I feel like there's a mutual respect.
It's a good way to get gored by a bison. There's a mutual respect.
There's gonna be some people listen to this and they're gonna be like, that guy's stupid. There's gonna be a lot of people hating on me.
Don't worry, people give that to us all the time.
Yeah.
It's just part of the process.
Yeah, I've been this close to a bison before. Like,
I would say that we have to. Trans-Catalina Trail.
Yeah. But is this like intentional, or is this just proximity? Because I've come too close to a moose before, and that's because like you're hiking and you look up and they're just so quiet.
That's with the moose. The bison, I was actually looking away from it, and it came up behind me slowly, and I turned around, it's like right there.
Okay, so you're not like being negligent and breaking LNT and like doing stuff like that.
Not all the time.
Okay.
There's been multiple times if I had gone like this, I could have touched a bear. Black bear, not grizzly. I wouldn't do that with a grizzly.
I'm surprised, honestly, because I feel like in most circumstances, the bear is either running away from you, and if it's not running away from you, you don't want to be that close to the bear.
No, it's I don't, like, really, there's something with animals. I've already said it before, the mutual respect. I feel like you make eye contact with them, they make eye contact with you.
So you're making eye contact with the bear at close proximity?
Yeah, talk to them gently, let them
Yeah.
know you're there. Hey, I'm not a threat. They usually make eye contact with you. They keep going back to eating. Slowly approach. Keep your distance. If they start to seem agitated, don't get any closer.
Yeah. I mean, Cesar Milan can go up to the angriest pit bull and give it belly rubs within a few seconds. Like, some people just have the magic touch, and maybe that's you with animals.
I mean, I've had a baby fawn, like, between my legs follow me on the trail before. I like animals.
Yeah. So we get feedback a lot that people who do the FKT thing are missing the point, right? Like, they're doing backpacking the wrong way. And I'm not taking that side at all. I did the PCT as fast as I could and loved it at a much slower pace than you, but like, I was pushing myself, so I'm not taking that stance. But I'd love to hear in your words, to somebody who says that, you say that you're not interested in doing a hike over the course of a day that if it's less than 30 miles, to somebody who thinks that that's missing the point, what would you say to them?
They don't understand. Okay, think about it. When I'm doing bigger miles, I get to see more sunrises, more sunsets, more animals, more viewpoints from different angles. Like, if you're seeing a sunset from camp, you only see it from camp. But if you're continuing to hike, you see it from here, from there, from several different miles away. So you get to see more stuff. Mm-hmm. And there's something amazing about the scenery changing rapidly, like, being able to go through multiple different climates just in a 24-hour period. And here's the thing. Like, if anybody ends up reading my book about the PNT, like, they're going to understand it's not just about the fastest known time. Like, I get sidetracked. I explore stuff. Like, if there's a cave, even if I'm on an FKT, I'm going in the cave. Like,
we have some calendars for you, by the way. Yeah. That'll make more sense in a bit. That's interesting to hear, because, I was going to follow up. A lot of people have the perception of an FKT as somebody who's essentially doing like a light jog, head down.
Okay, so this actually kind of pisses me off. A Backpacker magazine interviewed me, and they completely twisted my words. They said in the article that I spent my entire time looking at my feet. They don't get it. It's the scenery that inspires me to keep going. Like, I'm constantly looking. I'm constantly taking pictures. Like, I will sacrifice the battery on my phone and require me to spend more time in town charging because I want to take more pictures. Mm-hmm. Like, in the North Cascades on the Pacific Northwest Trail, I was trying to take a picture of every single species of mushroom because they were fascinating.
Are you a big flora fauna guy?
I prefer the landscapes and the views and the animals over the fauna, but I love the fauna. Like I'll take macro pictures. Like, even on the PCT, I was taking little bitty macro pictures of bees on flowers. If I see a snake, I'll stop and watch it. On the Bigfoot Trail, I actually watched a snake swallow a salamander slowly over the course of an hour.
Ooh, I had a moment like that on the AT. I watched a snake go at a frog it was close to an hour when we finally were like, we got to tune out of Nat Geo and keep walking. They're slower than you'd think at that. They really drag it out.
Yeah.
They're just trying to enjoy their meal.
Yeah, it got hard to watch.
Yeah.
Because part of you wants to save the frog, and the other part's like, don't fuck with nature.
Was the frog still alive? Was it kicking its legs?
It wasn't inside yet. It was like the snake trying to figure out, like, how do I get my jaw over this massive frog, and also, like, stop squirming. Kept sticking out a leg and stuff and, like, making it difficult.
That's the way the salamander was. They were, like, flopping all over.
Yeah.
What a strange way to die. Like, to be inside.
Swallowed alive.
Yeah. Inside of something else. It seems like a not ideal way to go.
That's what I think about when I think of, like, swimming in shark waters.
Yeah.
Just like
well,
going into their belly.
yeah,
I know it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I think they'll bite off a limb. And
Yeah,
you
it
just
doesn't.
bleed
But
out.
that's what I think of.
Yeah, sure, fair. Yeah, okay. I think it's good for people to get the perspective of the huge mile day person, because I think there is the perception that, you're missing, not the point necessarily, because who has the...
And then beyond the massive changing scenery, if you do it on back to back big miles and you start to get exhausted and tired, then you go through this whole emotional roller coaster. That sounds awful. It's the greatest thing in the world. It's a rush. You just have to go do it to understand.
Okay, a lot of the times we'll ask the question of okay, so what does your hiking day look like, right? How are you waking up? How are you pacing it when you stop in for food and stuff? But as another emotional roller coaster type of person, what does a day hiking look like for you? I'm thinking FKT day, since that's what we're on the topic of. But what does the emotional roller coaster look like over the course of a day? What stops are you making, and what emotions are you coastering?
What emotions are you coastering? Just wanted to pause on that for a second.
Yeah. So on the PCT, everything's different because I've done 3 FKTs now, and I think I've learned things along the way and gained some endurance throughout the way. But on the PCT, the first half of it, the first, 1,300, 1,400 miles, I was cruising. I was doing 55 miles a day, having a freaking blast. Everything's jiving. And then between Side Valley and Bernie Falls, I ended up having to, in order to make sure I could get to Bernie Falls before they closed at 5 p.m. on Monday, I had to push up to 56-mile days. And I was starting to get really tired at that point. To the point where, after the halfway point, I think I cried every single day.
Charles has a name for that.
Oh, it's a midday meltdown. It doesn't have to just be at midday.
It was not only at midday.
Yeah.
And it sounds miserable, and it sounds like it's awful, and in some ways it is miserable in the moment. So the first half of the PCT was amazing, fun, best thing I've ever done in my life. The second half was miserable and fun, but still the best thing I've ever done in my life.
What kind of things are you crying about?
Stuff I shouldn't be crying about.
Yeah, like what?
Okay, so the very first time, this one might deserve a cry. The very first time I recorded it. So before I started the PCT, I was I want to document the rough stuff. I didn't document it all because sometimes you just have to get through it. But the first time I recorded a cry was I was talking to a friend, and she's an ultra runner, and she has been an inspiration to me. And so I'm talking to Fawn, and she's like, "It's so exciting to see how well you're doing," and I'm just I'm just ready to see Hannah, my wife, and then I just start bawling.
That's a worthwhile cry, I think.
Yeah. So that one is probably deserved it.
Yeah.
The rest of them were after I started, after I tore my quad and I thought I was going to lose one of my toes to gangrene, and I started peeing red, and everything was falling apart. Okay, I had done probably about 1,800 miles total of the PCT before the FKT. But when you're really tired, there's way more rocks. They come out of nowhere. And so I would see a bunch of rocks, and I would just start crying. Because I have to go over that. The PCT is supposed to be smooth. Why are there so many rocks? Mm-hmm. Or the sharp bushes in the desert. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, tiny thorns.
The ones that'll make you bleed.
Yeah.
You see that bush, and you're just oh, I have to go through that. I
feel that doesn't get talked about enough for PCT stuff, because that fucked me up pretty good too.
That got me when it was I just want to fucking sit down. And anytime you'd sit, the thorny things would have fallen off in the desert, and it's just, you can't sit in peace because you're just pulling things out of places.
Yeah, I was always curious if northbounders had it better than southbounders, if it was just overgrown and the maintenance happens during the winter or something like that. But thank you for reiterating the point, because that fucked me up pretty good too.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going back with tools. I'm gonna F them up. Yeah, I'm gonna clean that trail.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about peeing red?
So when it first happened and I noticed it was not the normal color, I'm like, oh, that's a problem. And it wasn't okay. So for me, like FKTs is like the funnest strategy game in the world, because not only is it like choosing your gear, choosing your food, choosing where you're going to resupply, but overcoming the challenges, because nothing's ever going to be perfect. And so whenever it happened, I'm like, I wasn't freaking out. I was like, I need to solve this because this is probably a problem.
Is this like blood, like thick, opaque, dark red, or is this like Kool-Aid? Like,
do you want to see a video?
Is your peen in it? Like, am I gonna see? Because if you're in the process,
I deleted those videos. I was like, I can't show that to anybody. I didn't go up.
I mean, I'll look at a red stream, sure.
No. So the very first time, it literally looked like blood, like dark, thick blood.
Ew.
But then it would range, like it would fade to like pink, and then it would go to like dark brown, like dirt brown.
Were you eating the mushrooms you were taking the photos of?
So at one point I actually did lose my food bag, and I was scavenging a lot of food. Like I was like, so like a month before I started the PNT, I started studying what was edible on it, and so I'm like, oh, that's fireweed, I can eat that. You know, I'm eating dandelions, I'm eating, berries, and someone was eating Cheez-Its and they were dropping them along the way, so I'm eating a Cheez-It trail.
Oh, it's a Scuba Steve move.
Psilocybin.
No, I did not eat the mushrooms.
Yeah, probably not a ton of cows out there. Anyways.
Okay, so tell us what was the resolution of this pee? Like, what happens?
So I started calling different people because I was like, I need to figure out a solution to this. So I started calling people that I thought might have an answer. First person I talked to was like, oh, that doesn't sound good, but I've never had it that. I've never experienced that. Let me get back to you. And then I start calling other people. Some people were like, oh, that's RABO. You need to quit. You need to get off the trail right now because you're dying. And I'm like, that's not the answer I'm looking for. Click. Like, I need good news.
I'm seeking a second opinion.
Yeah. So I kept calling people until I got what I needed to hear. So eventually, and it also, like, Heather Anderson peed red on the Appalachian Trail, and Josh Perry did when he did the PCT last year. So I'm like, it's not that big of a deal.
Fast hikers pee red?
Is it RABO in those instances?
I still don't know. So Heather doesn't think. She thought it was like an irritation in her bladder from dehydration.
What's rhabdo? Rhabdo?
Rhabdo, it's short for some sort of
rhabdomyolysis. So
rhabdomyolysis.
So eventually Joe McConaughey reached out to me and said, hey, I heard you have rhabdo. And I'm like, who the hell told you I have rhabdo? Like, I don't know I have rhabdo. And so then he starts explaining, like, when your body's so depleted and you're calorie deficient, that your body starts eating the proteins in your own muscles as energy. And then the byproduct of that ends up looking like red and brown in your urine.
So it's like the red juice you get when you buy a steak and you, like, poke it. The red juices come out?
That's just blood. And, yeah, this is way worse. It described accurately, rhabdomyolysis, often called rhabdo, is a serious medical condition that can be fatal or result in permanent disability. Probably good you're hearing this after the fact. Rhabdo occurs when damaged muscle tissue releases its proteins and electrolytes into the blood. These substances can damage the heart and kidneys and cause permanent disability or even death. But
again, I don't know if that's what it was. Mm-hmm. So Joe told me... So other people were telling me, you have to quit now. And Joe was like, okay, if that's what it is, a medical professional would probably tell you to get off trail if it continues for more than a day or two. So I'm thinking, I need a little bit more of a window. Like, I'll quit if it lasts for more than 3 days. So the first time, it lasted 2.5 days. And then when I went back, got to the desert, and I only had 600 miles left, I came back. And again, I started crying. Because I was so close. Like, I only had 600 miles left. Like, why? Like, this cannot be what ends this. So I'm like, all right, well, if it lasts for more than 3 days, it only lasted 2 days.
Does it hurt when you're peeing red, or is it just like everything's cool, but if I look down, I am peeing red? Like, is it like a UTI feeling?
So it's hard. It's hard to know, because at that point, I was so fried. Like, I had like this. The human body's amazing. Okay. I had like this mental fog and probably from like the sleep deprivation that like, I mean, like my toes were numb, my forefeet were numb, so I couldn't feel if my blisters were getting worse. I just knew that they were a problem and I had to take care of them so I didn't lose anything. But so I don't know, like in the moment I wasn't hurting. I wasn't like cramping, and I had heard that rhabdo, if you have rhabdo, like you're going to have bad muscle cramps. So I'm like, I feel fine. Like it's just the wrong color. I just need to make sure I fix this.
I would also classify this as a justified cry. I think
Yeah.
we're still on justified cries at this point.
Okay. All right.
Missing your wife, peeing the wrong color. You're describing things that I think are worth crying about.
All right. I mean, there was times where like the hill would just be steep, and I'm
Yeah.
like, why is it so steep?
Yeah. Okay.
What is the largest, biggest mental breakdown you've had on trail? What is your like king of the breakdowns? Doesn't have to be one specific trail, but of the trails.
So that could possibly be on the Arizona Trail, or it could possibly be, you would think it would be on the PCT, because I pushed my body through more than anything but on the PCT. I don't know. Maybe it's the newest. I was expecting it on the PCT, and I think if you're expecting it, it's not as bad. On the Arizona Trail, I mean, I was the first person to finish it there this year, so I had to snowshoe 220 miles with no tracks in front of me. I had a 7-degree night. I had a 30-degree quilt. I was freezing cold, like thinking this is not type 2 fun. This is type 3. Like this is just plain. This is not Nick stupid. This is just plain stupid. And I was also considering the Arizona Trail an ankle recovery hike for me.
Is that how that works?
I would imagine that not hiking is the recovery.
No, well, you have. It was a recovery. So you don't understand.
This is hiker math,
I don't.
Zach. This is hiker math.
I don't understand.
So I jacked up my ankle real bad in 2022. I did the Ozark Trail, 230 miles. I did it in 3.5 days, and I jacked up my ankle pretty bad on it. Like my ankle was popping out of place
Ooh.
on the daily.
I don't know if I've even
I
heard
don't
of
like
that. I
that.
knew that happens with shoulders. I've never heard of that with ankles.
Like I can show you a video. It's
No.
Yeah, I
pretty,
believe you.
It's pretty
Yeah.
obvious, and it's pretty loud too.
I'd
Yeah.
rather take the penis peeing video.
Of course you would.
But, come on. I said no the first offer.
Oh wait, where was I?
You got sidetracked by...
ankle recovery.
Okay,
hike.
ankle recovery hike. So after I jacked it up on the Ozark Trail, that's when I went and did the Bigfoot Trail slowly, and I just yo-yoed it. I slept inside of a redwood. That was
Whoa.
really cool. That was a really cool
Are you
experience.
sleeping vertically?
No,
standing
that's
up?
how big they are.
Damn.
It was hollowed out from a fire, and it was more than big enough for me to lay down in it.
Really?
Are you not thinking like this is where snakes go?
No.
The snakes are thinking this is
I
where
am-
Nick goes.
Yeah.
don't-
Guy hasn't showered in a year. Get out.
Maybe that's why I don't have problems with big animals. Like they can
Maybe.
smell me. And so I was stupid, and I somehow convinced myself that I could run 2,650 miles in 2022 with an ankle that was popping out of place. I was like, if it pops out of place, I'll just pop it back in.
So did you not see a doctor, physical therapist?
I did. I was working with a physical therapist and a doctor, and they knew what I wanted, and they have kind of learned that. I mean, there's oftentimes that both of them. It's funny. Both of them, my doctor and my physical therapist, they talk about me, like behind my back.
With
Isn't
each
that,
other.
like against HIPAA?
It might be,
It definitely is.
but I mean, they have my
Sounds
permission.
illegal.
They have my permission. But they know that they're not going to stop me. And I just have to learn lessons the hard way. I've learned a lot of lessons the hard way in the last few years. So then I attempted the PCT. I only made it from Canada to Stevens Pass in 3.5 days, and then my ankle was not a cankle; it was a thankle. It was the size of my thigh.
Ankle, yeah.
I was thinking thick ankle.
Damn, that boy's got some thick
He's got some
ankles.
ankles.
And so then I was on crutches in December, and then I was like, I still wanted to go after the PCT. Like, I'm not done. I'm not quitting on it. And so, but I was like, okay, I need to get my ankle back to moving, but I need to do something slow. But so I did the Buffalo River Trail, which is like a short one, and my ankle didn't have any issues on like 70-ish miles. So I'm like, all right, let's go do the AZT. I'm not going to do more than 30 miles a day. I took an ankle brace with me that I wore every single day, and I told myself if it ever hurts like even a little bit, I'll stop and address it. I'm not going to hike into the dark. So I even told myself if I see like, cause there's sometimes, if you see like an amazing pretty campsite and you're just like, oh, this would be amazing to camp here. So I told myself if I see one of those, I'm going to stop, even if it's like noon. I did a couple of times, but then I set up camp and like 30 minutes later, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like, just keep hiking.
The FOMO
yeah,
is too much.
So I'll pack it up, keep going. But so that was an ankle recovery hike for me. But I did start wondering when I was snowshoeing 220 miles, like, is this stupid? Like, is this, I mean, I'm out here to recover my ankle. Is this the wrong thing to be doing for it? And so I broke down and I quit. Like, I got off the trail and I thought I was quitting, which is super frustrating because on my mirror in my bathroom at home, I have written, I don't quit. I finished what I started.
How annoying was that to look at afterwards?
Oh, I didn't quit. I got off, I had a hot meal, and then I was like, that wasn't so bad. Like, let's go back out there and finish. And I'm glad I finished. I really am. Because it was special. I had the northern 300 miles completely to myself. It was pretty cool.
Has that been a theme that's been true across your entire life? Because for me on the AT, it was very important to finish because I wanted to prove to myself that I could follow through and finish a thing because I had a track record of being very hit or miss. I wasn't always the guy that was finishing stuff. For you, had you always been the guy that says, I never quit, or were you trying to establish that as like your next chapter of your character?
I've always been that way. I'm pretty driven. I can be, if I put my mind on something, I'm obsessed with it. And so when I first started getting into, so I didn't know what an FKT was in 2020, but in 2021 is when I decided I wanted to get one. So that's when I went after the PNT. And
was that a pretty competitive FKT at that point?
No, it was pretty soft.
Okay.
Jeff Garmeyer, if you listen to this, I didn't say that. So the record on it was Jeff Garmeyer's record, but he wasn't trying to set an FKT. He just hiked it fast and was like, oh, there's no FKT on this trail. Let me throw it up.
Got it. We've talked to a lot of people that, are either establishing an FKT or they recognize like a soft FKT, which is why I was curious about it.
Originally, I was actually going after the PCT, but the week before I started, the Dixie Fire happened. So 100 miles of the trail's on fire, and I'm like, made a last-minute decision to change it to the PNT. Which is good because I was not ready. I had never thru hiked before. I had no idea what I was doing. And if it weren't for the experiences of the PNT, I wouldn't have been able to do the PCT the way I did.
What is it that you learned on the PNT that helped you with the PCT?
Oh, everything. Packing your bag more efficiently. Not carrying stuff that you don't need. Chafing. Oh my gosh.
Johnson doesn't chafe. She doesn't know what you're talking about.
But I've learned mayo. Is it really?
Mayo?
Yeah. We actually recently learned this.
This week.
Mayo is apparently the move.
If you had told me that on the PNT, I would have lathered it everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so day 2. Okay, so Olympics, because I went eastbound. So I'm starting in the Olympics and by the ocean, so it's super humid. Okay, it's super humid.
That's the opposite way that people usually
Most people go most people start in Glacier and go towards the coast.
Yeah.
But I was chafing so bad on day 2, and it wasn't just in the nether regions. It was, under my arms and on my back. So I'm like stripping my clothing items. Like I'm taking my shirt off. Next thing I know, and I'm having to shove socks underneath my shoulder straps because my backpack's rubbing my shoulders raw. And then by 8 p.m., I have literally taken off every single item of clothing, and I am only hiking with a backpack and shoes.
I will say, there's I know it's painful for you. For me, there are a few things as entertaining to watch as boys hiking with chafe, especially on the lower half.
Do girls not get chafe, or is it just that you're not fat enough to get chafe?
We don't take off our clothes as frequently in response to it.
I've gotten a lot of chafe. I've never gone that route before. I've never derobed. Maybe I have to try that.
I've seen many a boy in boxers or tight boxer briefs, whatever they call them, in the desert because of chafe.
I feel like most of my chafing is skin on skin, so like that doesn't actually solve.
I think it's just like the idea.
It's not just naked; it's also naked with a waddle walk.
Yeah. Okay. So you change your gait.
Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah. I have a lot of questions based on what you said. So one of the things that you learned was how to pack your pack better. I'm curious to know what mistakes were you making early on.
So on the PNT, there was times where it would take me 30 or 40 minutes just to pack my bag up and get going in the morning. Now I can do it in 8 minutes. Just being more efficient, and like now I use a bivvy and a quilt, and so I'll just leave my quilt in my bivvy and just shove it in the back of my backpack, which a lot of hikers do. They just shove their quilt in the bottom of it. But on the PNT, I was meticulously like putting my quilt inside of a dry sack, and like rolling it up and packing my bag. And
I've never thought to leave the quilt in the tent, and this kind of is fascinating to me because the part that I don't like about packing up in the morning is getting out of my quilt, and I sleep in my hiking clothes. There's not much happening there apart from like maybe adding or taking off a layer. But for me, it's always like it's pretty fast when it needs to be, but the last thing to go in is the quilt. It gets stuffed down, and then the tent goes on top because that's the last thing apart from the food.
The quilt's the first thing to go in.
No, I'll put my like excess clothes sometimes. Well, yeah, I'll put the quilt in, but sometimes I'll put the excess clothes in under the quilt if I want to stay in the quilt longer. But once the quilt's in, everything in the tent apart from the food is in. And so then comes the tent, and then comes the food. And I've never thought to just leave the quilt in the tent.
So I wonder if this is an advantage of a bivvy over a tent, because oftentimes for me with the tent, I have condensation.
Same.
So I don't want the moisture of the tent to be in contact with something that's got down in it.
Do you get no condensation with a bivvy?
I'm also picky with where I'll lay down.
Okay.
Very picky. Like it's not uncommon for me to go an extra 5 to 10 miles just to find a better spot to sleep.
That's a thing that people don't realize when it comes to getting a good campsite is sometimes you have to extend your day an hour or two beyond when you're ready to be done to find the ideal campsite. And when you're doing 50 plus miles a day, I think maybe easier to do. Or maybe harder.
On the PCT, it got to the point where I didn't care where I slept. There were a few times where I did have condensation issues, like my last day in the Sierra. I woke up at like 1 a.m. completely soaked in condensation, and I couldn't. It was too cold. I couldn't sleep, so I just packed up and kept going. I was like, I'll dry my quilt out when it gets sunny.
So you just hiked from 1 a.m. on?
Yeah.
We have a question of the day that's foreshadowing for. Anyways, okay, sorry, we're all over the place, scatterbrained. So you mentioned packing more efficiently. You went from 30 to 40 minutes down to 8 minutes, which is interesting because Dirtmonger mentioned the same thing, that he can be out of camp at 5 minutes. And I'm, even with a lot of thru hikes under my belt, I'm still very slow. I still to this day, and I know this is, we should do an actual like survey with this to see what people do.
Half of the 8 minutes is addressing blisters.
Yeah? What do you use for footwear? And what's your sock system too? Are you using like the toe socks or?
Yeah, so I have a mixture. I mean, ideally, if in a perfect world, because I'm frugal and I'm cheap, and I'm not gonna have like expensive socks. Like on a PCT, I wanted new socks every 100 miles. I learned that on the PNT. Like I was like, everything that went wrong on the PNT, I want to make better for the PCT.
Sure.
And what kind of socks are you hiking in?
I would prefer smart wool or exoskin toe socks. Like I would rotate between the two, but I mean, on the PCT, I had Darn Tough, I had smart wool, I had old ones that, because when I was done with them, I was throwing them away.
What's the difference for you, what's the difference between the toe sock and the regular sock?
Toe sock is annoying to put on.
I agree with that.
Well, that's a universal thought.
Yeah. But they can save your toes for some blisters.
You find that you get less blisters in a toe sock than a regular sock?
Specifically on my pinky toe, yeah.
Do you ever do like the Exafit? Maybe it's Exafit? No.
Injinji?
Injinji, thank you. Do you ever do the Injinji sock liners under a regular sock?
Putting on 2 pairs of socks is
Too much time.
too cumbersome.
Yeah, I've done that. Cool.
Yeah, Chauncey's question is good, and I want to drill down more on that.
Thanks.
I would prefer the tall, like, calf socks because they protect you from the bushes in the desert.
Yeah.
I wish I had the long ones when I got there, but I didn't.
Let's chat about something that we were talking about before we hit record here. Is my perception of the PNT was kind of exploded based on our brief chat, in that I'm picturing this trail just to be very rugged and overgrown and bushwhacking for basically every part that's not a popular part of a popular portion of the trail. And you said that the longest bushwhacking stretch of the entire trail is 5 miles.
Yeah, it's not as bad as everyone says it is. And honestly, I think the worst part about the PNT is the roadwalks. There's probably 200 miles of roads if you put them all together.
Yeah, and
but a lot is overgrown. Like, so it depends on what you call bushwhack. I call bushwhack there is absolutely no trail, and you're having to just find your own way. But there is a lot of trail outside of the national parks that's hasn't been maintained in a long time, so it is overgrown. And so if it's wet, you're getting soaked.
AT hikers are familiar with that. The morning dew, you're nothing you can do there.
Morning don't, am I right? You're laughing at my jokes today.
Your question. It's your turn for a question.
Sure, okay. I saw something about on the PCT you have a superpower for losing things. What do you lose?
Anything and everything. So because of the PNT, I was expecting to lose stuff on the PCT.
What'd you lose on the PNT?
So I had a microfiber towel that I eventually started wedging between my back and my backpack to help with back chafing. I lost that like 3 times. Then, like I would get lucky and I would find one on the road.
You're using roadkill towels for your back shave?
I would smell it first, make sure it didn't stink.
Oh, well, in that case.
Yeah.
It doesn't smell as bad as me.
This is great, yeah.
Forget this white stain.
But I lost a rain kilt, I lost my cork ball, I lost, chapstick, and so when I went into the PCT, like I even had backup items, like with me and on standby, ready for my wife to mail them to me, because I was expecting to lose my hat. I never lost my hat.
Yeah.
But I lost my food bag on day 5.
That's not a good lose.
No, and I felt so stupid. What a rookie mistake.
Yeah, that's a tough one because it's the heaviest thing in your pack, aside from like the day that you're going into town, right? So like in most instances, I would think that you would just know by the weight difference that there's no food in your bag.
I'm stupid.
What? How are we defining the difference between lost and forgot? Because I
lost it. Like it bounced out of my bag. I had it originally.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a lost.
Yeah, like everything I've lost was lost on the move. So lost my food bag. I had 600 calories on me to make it 44 miles to Snoqualmie. The next thing I lost was my headlamp. So normally slow through hiking, I'll charge stuff at night with my battery bank. But on the PCT, I didn't want to take the time to plug anything in when I went to sleep. So I'm charging everything on the go. And I'm running down a hill. My headlamp bounces out of my pocket. I see the bush it goes into, but it's gone. I can't find it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to keep going. I'll get another one later. I did have a backup headlamp. I just was using one strap. So I didn't have a strap to I had to hold my backup one with my hand like a flashlight. I didn't get another headlamp until I got to Donner Ski Ranch. So I went over 1,000 miles without a headlamp.
I can't imagine too many FKT hikers are having redundant lighting sources, or you mentioned you had multiple hats because you thought one was going to get lost. That's got to be a pretty unique thing, right?
I lose a lot of stuff. I broke one trekking pole in the Sierra in a creek crossing, and I pitched my tarp with the pole. Okay, and then I lost my remaining pole right when I got to the desert.
So what are you doing?
To pitch my tarp?
Yeah.
I'm not.
He's holding it up.
Well, at first I'm thinking, okay, I'm in the desert. It's not going to rain on me anymore. I don't need it anyways. And so when I got to Agua Dulce, I actually left my tarp with, what's that? Serenity's Oasis. I left it with him so he could just mail it home for me, so I didn't have to carry it anymore. I'm like, I can't pitch it. What's the point in carrying it? And then. And I wasn't thinking it would rain, but it did rain on me. And so I just slept in the rain, soaking wet all night long.
Sounds not safe.
And it was also in Mission Creek, which got wrecked by the hurricane.
Yeah. I saw a note about Hurricane Hillary, Tropical Storm Hillary. Is that the one you're talking about, or is that different?
Yeah. And I was actually in the High Sierra when that hit.
What was Tropical Storm Hillary? The names kind of confuse me sometimes, just because there's so many.
Well, it's the only hurricane that has hit the West Coast in 84 years.
All right, don't make me feel dumb. Sheesh. I didn't ask what Katrina was.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Like, anything to slow you down on the PCT, it should not be a hurricane.
Yeah.
So what happened? Like, were you hearing about it from, like, the hiker, like, Rumble, or was it just a surprise, like, hey, what's up? I'm Hillary.
So my wife told me that a tropical storm was brewing, like about a week before it hit. And she's like, hey, you might get some rain. And I'm like, big whoop. It's rained on me like every day for the last 5 days. I counted it up. Okay, it's supposed to be dry on the PCT. You hear all these stories where, it only rained on me once. You guys want to guess how many days it rained on me?
A lot.
28% of the days I was out there, it rained on me.
I know last year was wet, but that's more than I would have guessed for sure. Yeah. How much do you think that slowed you down?
Rain slows you. Well, I had to hide in a cave in the Sierra for 39 hours.
Sheesh.
Which I'm correcting. If anybody listened to a previous podcast, I said 41 hours. I don't know where I came up with that number, but I went back and looked on my inReach tracker, and it was 39.
So we get the real news at Backpacker Radio.
Yeah, breaking.
Breaking.
But yeah, so anybody that goes after the PCT, they have a 39-hour head start.
Yeah, what's going through your mind when you're just burning a little bit more than a day and a half in a cave, hiding out from a storm?
I was exhausted. Honestly, the 39 hours only seemed like 4 because I was in and out of sleep the whole time. Just waking up. Oh, it's still raining. I'll stop. The entrance to my cave closed off with a waterfall.
Whoa.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds like a what's Swiss Family Robinson? Like, this sounds like almost like a fiction novel.
There was so
like
much
utopia.
rain.
Yeah.
I mean, I could hear. I mean, I was on my way up to Mather Pass, so I'm above the tree line, and I could literally hear, like, it sounded like the mountains were falling apart, like rock fall, just crumbling. And I'm like, I am glad I'm in the cave.
Was there, like, a nice lightning show for you since Mather Pass is pretty high?
No, so it was not what I expected of a hurricane. So when the day the hurricane hit, there was a ranger posted up at a trail junction warning all hikers to get off trail, saying, hey, it's not going to be safe in the High Sierra. You need to go in town and wait this out for 3 days. And I'm like, I'm not stopping. And she's like, you're not going to be able to cross creeks. It's not going to be passable. There's going to be rock fall. It's going to be dangerous. You're going to get hypothermia. You're going to have to end up pressing the SOS button on your inReach, and they're not even going to be able to come save you because of the hurricane.
Fair reasons.
And I'm like, I can't stop. Like, if I stop, that's quitting. And then I explained I'm on the FKT, and she's like, well, your FKT's over. The hurricane is ending your FKT anyways. So, of course, I start crying. I just start bawling, and then eventually she's like, what type of rain gear do you have? I'm like, I have a $1 emergency poncho. And she's like, yeah, everything I just said is going to be worse. Like, you're depleted, you don't have good rain gear. And she's like, what do you need? And I'm like, I need to keep moving. And so I just left.
Where did you find said cave? Because I didn't see a cave in the Sierra.
It showed up at the perfect time. Like, it just appeared. Like, I'm free. Like, the winds are starting to come in, and the rain's starting to come in, and that's when it dawns on me. Like, okay, this is not the afternoon rain shower I've had every day for the last week. This is a storm. And so I'm like, I need to figure something out, because, like, I don't know if my pocket tarp's going to end up being a kite in the hurricane. And then eventually I find the cave, and now it turns out the storm is it wasn't crazy windy like you imagine a hurricane being. It wasn't lightning. It was just a lot of rain.
So you leave, obviously, prior to the storm being done. What is the hiking like at that point?
After leaving the cave?
Yeah.
Dude, okay, so we already had record snowfall in the Sierra. So the creek crossings are already insane.
And what time of the year are you going through?
This was August, towards the end of August.
Yeah.
I mean, still a ton of snow, though.
Mm-hmm. Which is wild that there's still that much snow in
Yeah,
August.
and I wish I had
of.
micro spikes. I was falling on my butt left and right. I should have had micro spikes. I just didn't want to carry them. And they were the streams were freaky. Like I'm normally like I feel fairly confident in my abilities, and I usually feel like I will do stuff that most people might not. But when I see the first stream crossing, I'm like, that's not passable. Immediately, no questions asked. You're going to get hurt if you go into that. So I'm going upstream, downstream, trying to find a place to cross. I can't find a place. I mean, so much water. So all the snow melt, plus all the rain from the hurricane. And eventually, I'm like, there is nowhere to cross. I just have to go for it. And so I found the narrowest part. I threw my bag across so my bag wouldn't be an anchor on me in the water because I knew I was going to end up swimming or something. And so it wouldn't be an anchor on me and I wouldn't get my stuff wet. And then I went to where it looked like I went upstream from where it looked easy to get out on the other side, expecting to be swept downstream. And then as soon as my first knee was underwater, I was gone.
How far of a backpack toss is this?
Probably from here to that wall over there. So
That's a way. So we're looking at 20 feet or so?
yeah,
Damn.
maybe
It's like a
more.
shot put.
Yeah. How heavy is your pack?
At that point, I was probably halfway through my food, so I probably only had maybe 10 pounds of food, and my base weight's 7.5 pounds.
Imagine that's a pretty nerve-wracking toss.
I was confident in the swing. I was real nervous when I let go.
Yeah.
So, to the part we grazed over, which is the river took you,
It did.
and then what?
My legs hit lots of rocks. I came out bloody on the other side, but I was like, hell yeah, I freaking crossed it. Let's go.
It can't have been that simple. It couldn't have been like this sounds like a log flume that you're at like Water World. But was it not scary or like scary?
I don't know. I'm weird. Like, no, it was more frustrating. Like, this is slowing me down.
Are you worried about hypothermia now when you get out? I mean, I know your pack is dry, but
No. So not at that point. So I got I got swept off my feet 3 more times that day in creek crossings, and then once the next day. The last time it was around 6:30 or 7 p.m. So like the sun's already on the other side of the mountain. It's getting dark. I'm completely soaking wet, and I'm like, thank goodness I have a synthetic puffy jacket. Like, anybody listening to this, do not use a down jacket. Use a synthetic because it could save your life.
no, synthetics are typically heavier than down, and you've got a very light base weight. Was the choice of synthetic for like knowing that you're the personality that might get swept down a river 4 times in 2 days, or was it coincidence and good in the moment by chance?
I wasn't planning on being swept down a stream.
Well, I know,
no,
but you know your personality.
But I was expecting to be pushing that my puffy might get wet while I'm wearing it.
Got it.
Like, it could be from sweat. It could be from like a drizzly rain.
So this was strategy. This wasn't like save the animals. This was strategically going.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
You know, you said we were not going to talk about the PCT.
Yeah, here we are.
Why would we? Why did you say that?
No, what I said was I didn't necessarily want to talk so much about FKT specific stuff.
To be fair, we have not.
Yeah, but I think this is all part of it, right? Because I think you're making decisions that you wouldn't if you're not going for a speed record. Is that accurate? Or are you doing these things even if you're not going after a speed record?
I've done I did some pretty sketchy stuff on the Hayduke.
Okay.
I made up some of my own routes. So I'm obsessed with technical canyoneering. So I took 200 feet of rope with me, harness.
That's
Like
heavy.
I was rappelling. It was very heavy. I took a pack raft with me.
Jesus.
I think I pack rafted like 125 or 150 miles.
How heavy was your pack?
It was pack raft and paddles was about 4 pounds. The canyoneering gear was about 4 pounds. And then the rest of my gear was probably 5 pounds.
The
Plus
rope?
food.
The rope?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like climbing ropes are like super heavy.
Okay, so that's a climbing rope where you need it to catch you if you fall on it.
Yeah,
Canyoneering, you're not falling on the rope. It's static tension.
So you got different ropes for canyoneering than climbing.
Absolutely.
Okay, that makes more
And
sense.
and they make Dyneema ropes.
Yeah.
For like a pull cord. So like one rope was to rappel on, the other one was to pull it down. And my Dyneema cord, 100 feet of it packs up to the size of this can and weighs nothing.
Yeah, no, that's very different from my climbing rope.
Yeah.
We're on the subject. Give us your sketchiest moment from the Hayduke.
There's two. Probably the sketchiest one of the two was when I crossed the Colorado River at the confluence where there was no trail. Like I climbed down the cliffs of the canyon, not 100% knowing if I'd be able to make it.
By necessity or for funsies?
For funsies, for sure. Yeah. And then once I got to the river, I set up my pack raft, and I'm going down, and I have 3 miles to get to the other side. And I'm supposed to be pulling out at Spanish Bottom. And if you miss Spanish Bottom, right around the corner is dangerous Class 5 rapids. And I'm in a pack raft so tiny, like I have to lay down it with my pack between my legs. So I'm going down the river and just enjoying my time. And I think I see a beach, like the pullout beach, because I've done other parts of the Green River before. Like you can usually see where the pullout is. And so I'm thinking I see the pullout, and I'm like, oh, it's way down there. I got plenty of time. Next thing I know, I pass a pullout. I'm like, oh crap, that was definitely an easy spot to get out, but I'm already past it. Like the river's moving too fast. And so then I'm like, oh, there's still a beach down there. That's fine. The closer I get to it, I realize it's not a beach, it's a cliff.
Yikes.
And right here where the river's turning, at the turn, there's an eddy. So like there's a back current, and I'm afraid if I get to the left side of the eddy, I'm gone. Like I'm gonna hit these dangerous rapids, and with my pack raft, I'd be toast. And so I'm paddling with all my might. Okay, my arms do not have the endurance that my legs do. Paddling with all my might, and I'm so low to the water, every single paddle is splashing water in my face. Just trying to get to this cliff. And it gets to the point where like my arms are so tired, I'm about to give up. Like my arms can't do it. But in my head, I'm thinking, if you stop paddling, you're dead. So you just keep going. And finally, I get to the cliff. I grab onto a root so I can like breathe, catch my breath, and then like one item at a time, I'm throwing over the cliff. And then finally I climb out, and I only did 23 miles that day. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm stopping right here. I'm sleeping. That was wild. Like my heart has never beat so hard in my life.
Tell me you cried then, because that's the most justified of all the cries right there.
No, I didn't.
I feel like you'd have like too much adrenaline.
That's true. Yeah, maybe rejoicing is the more appropriate emotion, but that's all the same.
Did this impact your tolerance or lack thereof of like danger this moment, or were you still as
I realized that I need to be smarter. Yeah. That was stupid. Like I need to do my homework better.
Yeah. What homework were you lacking? Like checking the river?
I should have tagged on my map exactly where the pullout was.
Yeah. Because from the PCT talk to this talk, it sounds like you are more nonchalant than at least I would like to say most, but at least I would be at a water crossing, because I go in with a certain amount of fear to everything, but particularly water crossings. From the PCT, it sounded like this was NBD for you, and this sounds like you hit a point where it went from being I'm choosing to go down this and cross this spot for funsies to, oh, this might have been too much Did you have a moment where you thought, like, pull back a bit?
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. No.
I feel like you need a certain personality to do the things you do, and it sounds like you have it. It's not an insult.
All right, I'll take it.
But like like me, I'm afraid of a lot of things. So like I wouldn't be someone doing that. Besides the fact I'm 5'1", I'm not going fast. But like I wouldn't be someone doing that stuff because I'd get to a river and I'd be like, that's scary. No, you know.
I like the adrenaline rush.
Yeah. Have you always been that way, where you're like chasing an adrenaline rush, like throughout life?
Yeah. I mean, like, my mom told me stories like when I was younger than I can remember. Like I would be tying ropes to a couch leg and I would be rappelling out of a window in our house.
Yeah.
Zach, you have 3 boys. Are you excited for this?
Both myself and my wife are pretty risk averse, so I don't know where that trait would come from, but
my nickname when I was a kid was Danger Nick.
Danger Nick?
Because I was always hurting myself.
Yeah.
Okay, so talking about nickname being Danger Nick, how did we get nickname DJ on the trails?
It was actually on the Hayduke. So I actually did the Hayduke right before the PCT. So this year I've done the AZD, Hayduke, and PCT. And so I'm on the Hayduke and I'm thirsty. I haven't had water in a while. And so I'm walking and then I see some cars in the distance. I'm like, oh, maybe these are some car campers. Maybe they've got some water. So I approach them. I'm wearing sandals at the time. And this was like 10 a.m. And I'm expecting just to get some water and this be like a 5-minute conversation. Next thing I know, I'm hanging out with them all day. I'm taking them canyoneering. I'm showing them routes.
I love these days.
Okay.
These are my kind of trail days.
Yeah. And, you know, then I'm like eating with them. They're cooking for me. I end up camping with them. I'm hanging out with them all day. They already had a Nick in their group. So I became Desert Nick. And then as the night progressed, eventually I became Desert Jesus. Because I showed up out of the middle of nowhere desert wearing sandals.
Fair.
Are you hiking in sandals, or are these camp shoes?
They were Bedrock Cairns.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I had them because of how many canyons you're in the Hayduke. Like normally I don't backpack with sandals. Mm-hmm. Like it's way too much to carry. But I was expecting like all the mud, all the muck. I took the sandals specifically because of the Hayduke.
Mm-hmm.
I love bedrocks.
Yeah,
I even was canyoneering in my bedrocks because I didn't want to damage my through hiking shoes. So when I'm going with them, like, you know,
that's more hiker math.
Yeah, different. Yeah, I could talk about that forever. Let's change topic.
What do you use for your footwear?
Now Topos.
Okay.
Amazing. I used to wear Ultras. I don't know why I was so stupid.
I've been hearing this more recently.
I blame Heather Anderson.
Yeah, no, I love Ultras. I tried switching from Ultras to Hokas, and it was not for me. I'm back in the Ultra boat. But I feel like Topos have been making like a come up.
They're amazing. I tried Hokas
What is it
too.
about them?
So Topos still have the wide toe box, kind of like Ultras do, but I can get well over 1,000 miles out of a pair of Topos.
Are they zero drop as well, or they have?
They
a drop?
have some. The ones I like are 3mm, which is so low you can't even really tell.
Yeah.
How low can you go?
And they do have a little bit of arch support built into it. Okay, so on the PNT, I was wearing. I think Ultras are a good 20-mile-a-day shoe. They are.
Maybe that's why I love them.
They are horrible for high mileage. My arches were destroyed. I cannot explain to you how bad my feet hurt just beginning on like day 5. Like they were throbbing. Like when I would go in to check out and like get my resupply box and I'm paying at the counter, I would be on my knees.
Interesting. So like the person that's seeking the high miles is not the person that's going to thrive in the Ultras by your standards.
Somehow Heather Anderson does it. I don't.
I wonder if maybe you have a higher arch than she does. Like, because I know for a lot of people backpacking, obviously the arch gets flattened over the process, and obviously there's this massive individual variance just in the way someone's foot is structured. I'm not qualified to be speaking on this. I'm just hypothesizing as to why, you know, it works for a niche and then another.
I don't know. I mean, okay, so you know the UFOs recovery sandals? Are you guys familiar with those?
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so a lot of marathon runners will use them.
Wait a minute. Keep talking, but I'm looking them up because they might be.
My wife picked me up at the end of the PNT, and she gave those to me so my feet could recover. My arches hurt so bad I couldn't even wear them.
Wow.
I crawled. across the parking lot to the car.
Yeah.
While she hummed Chariots of Fire.
Okay, no, these aren't what I thought. They look nice. These look comfortable.
Yeah, these just like a higher arch.
Hold on, you got no picture there. They look like they look like what like if like they kind of look like what someone would wear like if they work at a nursing home. You know, like nurse shoes.
Sure. Yeah.
If you
they look comfortable.
They look comfy. For sure.
I would think if you're a through hiker that likes to have camp shoes, a pair of UFOs would be an amazing
Are they
camp
light?
shoe. They're fairly light.
Was it like this style?
No, those are shoes. I was wearing the sandals, and I'm
okay.
assuming the
That's
sandals would
fine.
weigh less because they have less material.
Sandals.
They're
Okay.
okay. I think anything's heavy, so I think they're way too heavy to backpack with. But I see people backpack with Crocs, and I'm like,
That's always blown my mind. Oh, these are okay. These are hip.
Okay. Still cushy and comfy for sure.
yeah.
So how'd you find UFOs? Where was the?
I had a friend that his brother runs marathons all the time, and when I got into running, in 2021, he just recommended it to me.
Okay.
And I mean, I feel like I know nothing, and I want to learn more, so I'm very open to suggestions. Like if someone tells me something, I'll try it out.
Yeah.
Well, I like when we hear about brands we haven't talked about before because I new things are always coming to the horizon, but that's just one we haven't mentioned before. So that's always kind of exciting, in a world where we all kind of carry the same shit.
Including topos. That this has come up a lot. Pony is a huge advocate, a recurring guest on the podcast. Which model do you use? And in addition to the durability of the shoe, what is it that you like about them so much?
My feet didn't. Okay, they hurt, but they didn't. Okay, I compare feet hurt to P&T foot hurt. Okay, my feet didn't hurt on the PCT. Oh my gosh, thank you. That was so happy about that. Okay, yes, they did hurt, but they were not excruciating.
And you use the topos for the
PCT.
Duration of the PCT?
Yep.
Okay.
I used 6 pairs of MT4s, and then the last pair I used was a Mountain Racer, and that's just because they were on sale.
Okay.
But they also have pure Vibram soles, so they're super grippy. Ultras are super slippy. I mean, I can on the PCT I was doing 400 miles a shoe because I wanted the fresh cushion because of how many miles I was doing.
Sure.
But like on the before just this year, I've gotten 1,100 miles out of 2 different pairs of topos before the PCT, and they still have more life left in them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's unheard of because I think we've gotten accustomed to like being happy with getting 500 miles out of a pair of trail runners, and to double that is remarkable.
And they're cheaper than Ultras.
Are they? Yeah.
We gotta reach out to them.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be very interested to try them out because I have a really wide foot, so I typically do better with shoes that make a specifically wide model, even though Ultra doesn't. But yeah, I'd be interested to try them out.
I had a patent pending thought. You know how they have the poop scale where it's like 1 to 10 and there's the diagram of like what's your poop look like?
Mm-hmm.
We should make one that is 1 through 10 of like what do your feet look like? And it's the different stages of like beaten up feet along a trail.
Yeah, sure.
Like how do your feet feel?
Yeah, it's a good one.
Maybe the smiley face, how do you feel? But I think there's a vision here. We can develop it later.
Definitely.
So speaking of feet, my dog is literally eating me alive.
Sorry.
Okay, so
The mushroom kicking in again.
so the bottom of my feet right now look like they have leprosy.
Oh, are you having the
Like the chunks fall
the
off.
foot peel?
Yeah, and he thinks they're food scraps.
Oh, dogs are so strange. They are strange little animals. We were talking about the foot peel on a previous episode. That period where you end a hike and you get the peel.
Yeah, you're like a snake.
Can you show us your peel?
Like right now, or do you want a picture, or do you want to take my feet off?
Show us.
Yeah.
Just like whichever one's worse. You probably know.
I don't know which one's worse. I only have 8 toenails right now.
Ooh.
One of them's been missing for like 1,200, 1,400 miles. I don't think that one's ever going to grow back.
Huh.
That'd be wild.
Are you just covering it with a Band-Aid or just letting
No, it's smooth as a baby bottom now at this point.
Oh, yeah, that's foot peel.
Yeah, that's certified. Can you point it to that camera right there?
Right there.
If you guys want to see
It looks
this.
a lot worse a few weeks ago. This is not that bad.
Yeah,
this is really good.
Still pretty shredded. It looks like it went through like a cheese grater.
Wait, hold it up so we could take like a screen grab. Actually, you know what? Just point it at me and I'll take a photo. I love this stage. Honestly, this is one of the funnest parts. I know the hike itself is actually pretty fun, But I
The
also
hike itself is pretty fun, but
I
mostly
also
Chauncey's just in it for the extra
I'm
skin.
gonna get your face in it too. Hold on. I love this part. Like
Look at how cute that one is, though.
Oh, that is cute. The baby toes are always the one to go. For me, it's like, and then this is gonna be really fucking weird. When you put it up like that, I kind of just want to peel it. Like, I'm someone who loves to peel a sunburn.
My wife is that way too.
Do you want me to?
Go for it.
Ugh. You have to discard of that appropriately. Oh God, I can't watch this. Okay.
Yeah.
No, Chance, you have to get rid of that right now. Otherwise, podcast over. Nope. Chance.
What was your next question, Zach?
Nope. What is your next
Oh
career?
God, my feet smell horrendous.
Zach, his feet smell horrendous.
God damn it. I hate this more than anything.
So
Isn't it not the most satisfying thing to peel a skin peel?
I'm not satisfied.
Are you not that? Do you not just like love a sunburn for that reason? I know you don't love a sunburn, but like no one does. Do you not love just getting to peel?
I don't.
something?
I know that is a personality trait. It's not my personality.
It's mine.
Trait. Yeah, I can tell. I can tell. I can tell. Okay. Whew. Need
So
to
for those who
drink some
didn't
beer.
watch, go to YouTube.
My right pinky toe was half black for about a month after the PCT.
That's weird.
It looked like I had frostbite.
Let's go back to the pain that you're enduring on, I imagine, a lot of your hikes, but probably specifically the PCT. You mentioned that like your toes are numb at all points. What are you dealing with on a day in, day out basis? Like what's your daily pain?
So the PCT was much different than the PNT or the Ozark Trail. Like, I physically was hurting and I was injured on those. Okay, when I pulled my quad, that hurt too on the PCT, but
was it like a fall that caused you to pull your quad?
It was northern Yosemite.
Okay.
It's freaking rocks and the steepness. And I was getting tired and I was peeing blood, or what I thought was. So, like, my body was pretty depleted. Like, my thighs were super skinny when I was done. Like, I looked like a prisoner of war. I remember, like, the last week, just laying down on the ground, just scratching my chest, being like, ooh, that's skinny. Like, I can feel my bones.
Yeah.
So, but the majority of the PCT was more of a complete exhaustion that I can't even describe. Like, think about the tiredest you've ever been in your life, then times that by 10, and then times that by 10.
And then that hike 55 miles a day.
Yeah, like, I was fried.
Yeah.
Like,
is this the duration of the trail, or when do you start experiencing this level of fatigue?
Probably right when I got to the Sierra. Like, it was like everything hit the fan in the Sierra. Like, everything was smooth and amazing, and oh my gosh, I'm doing 56, I'm doing 57s. I just did a 59-mile day, and I feel great. And then the sleep deprivation caught up with me, and I could never get it back.
I know I don't want to mischaracterize this because I don't experience this, but just based on the conversations I've had, that a lot of ultra people and FKT people go through periods where they're hallucinating because they're so sleep deprived, and it almost seems like in a masochistic way that they enjoy it. Do you enjoy those periods because you're so delusional, or is that something that is just mentally fucking with you?
I don't necessarily enjoy it in the moment, but afterwards I'm like, oh,
That's a type 2 fun.
Yeah.
Are you hallucinating?
So I don't think I hallucinated. I want to. Like, I want to get to that point. Like,
Yeah.
my wife doesn't want me to get to that point. But I'm curious. Like, but there were multiple times where I swear there was a cooler full of pop way back in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, dude, the freaking trail angel hiked a freaking cooler pop. Hell yeah. Oh my gosh. I go open the lid and it's a boulder.
That's a hallucination.
When I imagine a hallucination, I don't know, maybe the movies make it not what it is. I imagine colors and like things that are obvious a hallucination.
Yeah, I speak to it from firsthand experience, but that is at least congruent with we did an episode with Carly Moray, who attempted the FKT on the John Muir Trail, and a lot of them were boulder based hallucinations. Like, she was seeing animals out of the rocks. So the fact that you're seeing a cooler out of the rock seems similar to that.
One time it actually was a cooler.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was really pumped.
Was it a cooler the first time, and then that kind of like set the?
Yes, maybe it was, because it was a cooler the first time, and then all the rest. And I just wanted it so bad. I mean, there's times I would have done anything for a cold pop.
Sure. What are your strongest food cravings during this, and are they consistent with your other backpacking food cravings? Like, does a FKT bring about unique food tastes, or is it just consistent but stronger?
Consistent but stronger.
Okay.
Like, actually, just anything.
Yeah.
Like, I can eat anything and never stop. Like, literally, by the end, like, I just didn't have 10,000 calories was not enough.
Yeah. Have you always had a very fast metabolism? Because I know, obviously, doing 50 plus miles per day, like, you probably can't eat enough food to maintain, like, homeostasis from a caloric standpoint. But 10,000 calories is a shitload of like, that's 5 times the amount that
you're eating all day long.
Yeah. Have you always had a high engine, or is that just purely brought on by the fact of what you're doing?
I think just what I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not the kid that's eating 4,000 calories in a normal day, even if you're not.
No, I mean, but I do have, like, some of my best friends, when I'm backpacking with them or hiking with them, they do often make comments that I'm always eating.
Okay.
But I think it's because I do so many miles.
Sure.
Like I have hiker hunger all the time. So I have hiker hunger, or I have FKT hunger. There's a big difference.
Describe the difference.
FKT hunger is feed me. Like, I will do anything for food. Like, hiker hunger is, okay, I'm hungry and I need to get some food, when I can.
Mm-hmm. Are you prioritizing a certain type of food when you're hiking? Like, are you going after food cravings? Are you prioritizing protein to rebuild?
So I learned a lot over the last couple of years, and, like, when I was doing the Bigfoot Trail and the Azerzone Trail and the Hayduke Trail, I was testing out things like, can I stomach this and not get tired of it? Because I don't want to get burnt out on anything.
Sure. To
where, like, because if it's hard to eat and if it's a chore to eat, that's just one more mental taxing thing.
Right.
So I have, like, my own protein shake concoction that I've made that has, protein powder, collagen powder, peanut butter powder, milk powder, butter powder, and 800 calories a pop that I can drink in a minute.
Do you know roughly how many grams of protein are in one of these?
I have it written down somewhere. I think it's something like 58 or 68 grams or something like that.
That's a healthy dose of protein.
That's a lot of protein.
And I would have 2 of those a day.
Okay.
Then I have, like, a 800 calorie oatmeal mix that has hemp heart seeds, chia seeds. So when I'm on the PCT, I had probably 5,000 calories of actually healthy stuff.
I was going to say, you talk to a lot of young, dumb thru hikers, and they're just, Pop-Tarts and ramen and all this stuff. It sounds like you've actually put thought into getting quality nutrition.
Well, I jacked my body up so much over the last year. I was like, I have to start eating. Here's how bad I wanted the PCT. Okay, I love meat, and I love cheese. Okay, I love cheese more than meat. But I wanted this so bad, and I was doing everything to heal my ankle this winter. Literally anything, even if it sounded hokey pokey, if it might heal my ankle, I was doing it. So I had, like, it was originally a 3-step program to heal my ankle. Eventually I was doing over 20 different things. One of them was I went plant-based.
I was going to ask what that had to do with cheese.
And did that help?
Unfortunately.
So if you haven't listened to Ruth's episode,
it hasn't come out
you
yet.
or anyone, no, I'm talking in the past or in
sorry.
the future.
You're talking to the listener.
I'm December 18th, Chance, right now.
Right.
If you haven't listened to Ruth's episode, that came out a few before this, check that one out. On the re-cheese, RE:cheese. Because I was afraid of cheese for a bit after that. I ate cheese today, though. Are you still plant-based? Like, has this transformed your eating habits forever?
No, I got the PCT record. I'm back on cheese. I did it for the PCT. I got the PCT.
I'm back on
cheese.
I'm back on that good.
And I did if I got like Mac halfway anywhere. Okay, I didn't know who he was, but he was giving out trail magic, and he had 8 boxes of Costco pizza and, like, Capri Suns and beer and pop. And when I'm approaching him, I'm thinking he's a car camper. And I'm like, oh, car campers, they might have a cooler of pop. I'm gonna see if I can get a pop off them. So I'm like putting my puppy eyes on, prepping my speech. And then turns out they're giving out trail magic. And he's like, we're about to leave. You are the 8th hiker we've seen. You can have anything you want.
I feel like Capri Suns are not good trail magic. Because, like, a Capri Sun goes down in a sip. Like, I feel like I need, like,
box.
8. Yeah, okay. That's the appropriate amount. That's the most annoying thing about a Capri Sun, is it goes so fast. So fleeting.
I love having a Midwest guy on the podcast that calls it pop. We have a lot of soda.
I wasn't going to comment on it.
Oh.
I'm a Midwest guy too. So,
like my favorite picture
relatable.
from the PCT is the picture that he took of me eating 2 pieces. I had 2 pieces of pizza in both hands.
do you notice feeling much worse after downing pizza like that after being plant-based?
No, I mean, I just needed fuel on
Yeah.
the PCT. Like, it didn't matter.
What are you? So are you being plant-based on trail, or is this just leading up to it? Because I know you just mentioned eating pizza, so that's different.
So I mean, when I was on the PCT, I went into it expecting if I get something that's non-plant-based, I'm gonna be so hungry, I'm gonna eat it. I don't care.
Yeah, fair.
But like on the Arizona Trail, so I started off this year. I said I'm gonna give it a 90-day try, because I don't want to marry it. I'll try it out for 90 days, and if I'm feeling better, I'll continue.
Yeah.
90 days later, dang it, I'm feeling better. I gotta continue.
So I know this because I was trying to figure out why my stomach was all fucky like a couple years ago. So I had to do an elimination diet for several months, which was hell. Mainly because I couldn't eat most things, but secondary because I couldn't drink. But what I learned is you start to miss things you didn't expect to miss. Like what I thought I'd be missing, like I thought I'd be missing the cheese pizza. The things I was actually like craving and missing were like surprisingly different.
Like what?
I don't remember exactly in the moment, but it was like weird. Like I'd be cooking like a grilled turkey, like a ground turkey to like put in like lettuce to eat with like salt and pepper. And like I would miss like a condiment, like something you like really wouldn't expect to miss.
Like ranch?
Yeah. Were you when you were doing plant-based for those 90 days, like what kind of things were you craving?
Biscuits and gravy.
Yeah. So something weird. I mean, that's not like super weird, but weird enough.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, the first month was the hardest. Like, I got sick. I think I had cheese withdrawals. It was awful.
That's funny.
I'm not joking.
I'm not saying that you're wrong, but it's just funny to say the word cheese withdrawal.
What kind of sick? Like, define sick.
Like, weak, nauseous, like I felt like I had the flu. Like I felt like I was hit by a truck. Like, but okay, if this explains how bad I wanted the PCT, like I gave up cheese.
Yeah. A couple other things in the interview have also explained how bad you wanted it, but the cheese part is a biggie.
Yeah.
When did you get your first cheese? Was it this Trail Magic, or was it like when did you get your first fix?
It was on the Hayduke. So So, all right, so the people that named me Desert Jesus, so when I meet them, they're cooking bacon. And they're like, oh, you want a piece of bacon? I'm like, I would love a piece of bacon, but I'm doing this thing. I'm like 110 days into
so you still got your willpower.
So I'm not doing it. Like, and then they're like, and then someone else comes over and they offer me a piece of toasted sourdough bread. And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, awesome. I eat it. It's amazing. And then they're like, oh, yeah, we cooked that with bacon grease. And I'm like, no wonder it was so good. And I'm like, okay, I'll just have one piece of bacon. It's fine. And then, I mean, the next thing I know, I mean, I had beef fajitas with them that night. I had 5 cheeseburgers the next day.
So you went on a full-on bender.
I went off the bandwagon. Then, like... someone gave me a salami and cheese sandwich the next day. But here's the interesting part was the next day I did 43 miles, not on purpose. Okay. Cause again, I'm like trying to ease back into it, but I did the way I did the Hayduke, I didn't resupply in any towns. So I buried food in the desert every 100 miles. And I knew that in 43 miles, I had some grape juice buried. And I just wanted to get to the juice.
Sure.
Interesting. Is grape juice something you crave on trail? Is that like?
I crave lemonade the most.
Really?
Yeah.
So what else are your trail cravings? Because I think trail cravings are so interesting because they are left field through and throughout.
Liquid calories. I mean, I would after once I was in the desert, because I was going southbound, but once I was in the desert, like any place like Acton KOA, like Agua Dulce, the Cajon Pass Chevron gas station, I was buying probably about $50 in liquid calories every time, just pounding it. Like,
is this all lemonade, or are you like?
I mix it up, like a half gallon of chocolate milk, half gallon of lemonade, half gallon of orange juice.
You're drinking a half gallon of chocolate milk and hiking out?
Yep.
Wait, so, but you're off. Are you off cheese at this point? This is when you've given up.
This is when I'm on the PCT and I will devour anything. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
I know from experience that when you don't drink milk for a while and you drink up to or close to a half gallon of chocolate milk, it's not the best.
My body was built for dairy.
That's a quote. That's a quote right there. That belongs on a sticker. How was the aftermath of this half gallon of chocolate milk? Because from experience,
I was full.
Moves through you very fast. No?
Okay. You just have to do it because you are so hungry. You will devour anything, and like within minutes, you're hungry again.
But were you not shitting your pants 10 miles up, 10 minutes up the trail?
No.
Wow.
I mean,
your body was
I was moving slower.
Maybe you were built for dairy.
It's funny the things that backpacking will do to somebody. Like, there's not people that do miles the way that you do miles. So like the average hiker has a different context. But like, I know plenty of people who are either hardcore vegetarians or even vegans who, when they approach Trail Magic and they're cooking hot dogs, they'll just go to town.
Well, I'm talking about specifically the chocolate milk.
No, I understand. Huge amounts of dairy, because I think I tolerate dairy pretty well. But after the half gallon challenge, I had the most historic dump of all time.
I got a small cup, and I watched everyone else.
Yeah, smart, but also not.
I'm not going to tell this right now, but did I ever tell you the story about the chocolate milk? It wasn't a trail story.
I don't think so.
All right, we'll do this on a Patreon episode then.
Okay.
This is how I know.
Okay.
Patreon.
I want to know, so you did 3 insane hikes over the course of the year. How much time did you have off between these hikes, and specifically, how much time did you have off before the PCT?
Well, I mean, I've basically been nonstop hiking all year. So before I started the PCT, I did 1,100 miles on the PCT.
Are you just scouting, or?
I was doing 30 to 40 miles a day. I wanted 40-mile-a-day trail legs before I started the FKT. Like, I wanted 40 miles a day to feel normal. Like, and so when I started, 40 miles a day felt like 10 miles.
Mm-hmm.
So when you and your wife did your 10-year anniversary national park thing, 2019, 2020, and you're going straight from that into this hiking stuff, if I've got the timeline correct, is that right?
Pretty much.
How to word this. We're going to jump back to the corporate cleaned up version of you before turning into this version of you. But I guess the question I'm asking, if I can figure out how to make words into sentences, is how did you go from being that person to being able to do this? I know I asked that at the beginning, but I mean so more in a way of like, the shit's expensive, like how do you make it work?
Well, I'm pretty freaking cheap. Like I think I spent, like including like plane ticket, I think the PCT cost me like $1,800.
I guess you are going faster, so you're not spending as much time on trailer
and all my food was like, I bought it in bulk.
And you're not doing like town, like 0 days?
I had a forced 0 day in a cave.
Yeah, true.
But that wasn't in a town, and I only had 4 hot meals the whole time.
But you're doing hike after hike after hike.
So no stove, obviously.
No stove.
Are you a very good saver in everyday life?
Yeah, I'm really cheap. Like I don't spend money on anything unless it makes me money, saves me money, or is hiking gear.
So you're smart about this. Like, you're financially smart, and you came into this phase of your life like having done the work beforehand where you can afford to do the fun stuff now. Is that painting it kind of correctly?
Yeah, but that kind of sounds...
That doesn't sound
conceited.
bad. No, it does.
Okay.
It doesn't at all. And I'll say it doesn't at all because I think it's very hard. I am in the corporate life right now. It's very hard to look past where you are right now and save. especially like I work in sales. I make commission on things. So my checks aren't like they aren't the same.
Like I don't go to bars.
But when you get a big one, it's like for like where it's easy to so to save that stuff and to like have that foresight of I might want to go do stuff with it, to be that very thrifty person, I think that's an absolute pro. I don't think that's conceited at all, but so many people wonder, how can you afford to do this stuff year after year, that's one of the questions I love asking people, because I think it makes doing, maybe not the FKT part of what you're doing, but it makes doing the lifestyle portion of it more relatable to someone who thinks I could never, like you went into it just being someone who doesn't spend a lot, who saves a bunch. Is that right?
Yeah. Like, I mean, in my early 20s, I had a goal to be financially free at the age of 33.
Okay.
Like I wanted to have freedom.
Did you do that?
Mm-hmm.
What were you doing for work?
I'm a really big fan of passive income.
Yeah.
Now, when I say that, people are like, "Oh, you're a millionaire," blah blah. I'm like, you don't understand. I live on beans. Like.
So are you doing like the FIRE thing? Are you a FIRE type of guy?
Like a campfire?
No, like financially invest, retire early. It's people that like stock up, like index funds and things like that.
Oh yeah,
4% rule.
So my dad was a financial advisor. So like when I was 16, I had my first retirement account.
Okay.
And I was like. And I do think, and which I think is awesome, like anybody that has kids, you've got to start your kids off on a good financial footprint, because if you start off with a clean slate, it's so much easier than trying to play catch up later.
So this is something that I've just learned about. My goal of turning 30 was learn about finances, right? Like it's just something I wasn't educated on. It's not something they teach you, And so that was something that I did a ton of reading on, listened to a bunch of podcasts, was mind blown when I entered this world. And that's one thing I kick myself for, is I used to think, why do people just go straight into jobs after college? Like, live your life first, yada, yada. Then you learn about compound interest, and it's like, oh, that makes sense.
Start that first.
So can you walk us through kind of like the basics of what you do to be able to get to where you are now, so that it can kind of like make this seem less vague to someone who's just dipping a toe in? Because I think that's huge for a lifestyle if you're someone that does this.
I can try.
It doesn't need to be like a whole like lesson.
Well, and specifically you mentioned passive income, but what specifically are you doing for passive income streams?
So in my 20s, when I was in a suit and tie, I did voluntary employee benefits. So I built up a book of business. Like, think of me as like an insurance agent, only it wasn't insurance. Mm-hmm. And so in all the work that I did in my 20s, I still get paid off of. And now I don't want to be servicing those accounts, because like every August, like I have a bunch of schools in Oklahoma. I don't want to be doing, August is prime hiking season. Mm-hmm. So I have other people that go service my accounts now for me, and I give them a percentage. Like, I set it up, I did the hard work. So every like member that I have on the books, I get a percentage of every single month.
Are you a financial advisor?
No.
Okay.
So, but you're working with universities, you said?
Like public schools.
Okay.
And not just public schools, basically small businesses, because it's really easy to talk to a decision maker at a company that has less than 50 employees.
Are you working for a company, or are you the company and people are working for you?
I'm an independent contractor.
Okay.
And honestly, I only do that business like maybe an hour a month now. And then now we have some rental properties. I have an Airbnb. I have some storage units.
So what did you dip into first? Like you mentioned, when you were in your teens, you had your first setup account.
So the first time, okay, so my dad borrowed $2,000 from me when I think I was 15 or 16. And at that time, I spent no money. I just saved up money because I wanted to buy more guitars. And so he borrowed $2,000 from me. And I don't know if he actually needed it or if he was trying to teach me a lesson, because he paid me back the next month with $200 interest.
It sounds like a lesson.
And I was like, that's the easiest $200 I've ever made in my life.
Yeah.
I think a parent asking you for money isn't paying you back the next month with $200.
Yeah.
It's not a lesson.
I'm like, and so like that's something I want to do with our kids. And
delayed gratification.
That's one problem with society, is we have so much instant gratification and credit. We've been taught that we can have the reward before it's been earned.
Mm-hmm.
Which seems kind of counterproductive for, like, and I hope this doesn't come off as insulting, but an adrenaline junkie type of personality. Like, I feel like the adrenaline junkie, like, wants that now. You know, like, they want that adrenaline. But to also have it mixed with that ability to get that delayed gratification seems like kind of a juxtaposition, no?
I'm weird. Like when I want something, I'm laser focused on it, and I mean, like my whole 20s, like when people were going to New Year's Eve parties, I was working. Like our first house, I bought as a foreclosure when we were in college, and I went to my professor saying, I have to remodel our foreclosure. I'm going to have to skip some classes for a while. Is that okay?
So you've been entrepreneurial from a young age.
Dude, when I was in school, like in middle school, I would buy a pizza, have it delivered, and then I would sell the slices individual.
So what?
It's awesome, by the way.
Yeah, it is. And for me, we've had name of the family, the Holy Rollers. Crawfords. We've had them on, and they have done some stuff like that with their kids, which we thought was like awesome when we were interviewing them. But for someone who doesn't come from that background or that upbringing, it kind of like buying a house in foreclosure, like that to me sounds kind of scary. Like that's a risk. I don't know much about it. What steps did you take and I would imagine this is in your growing up years because of your, what your parents' roles were. But what steps did you take to feel comfortable making these moves?
So, I mean, like I had like all these goals in my head, like when going into college. Like I was like, I'm never gonna rent. I literally never rented. So when me and Hannah got married, I bought a travel trailer for $600. It was a piece of junk. Mm-hmm. And we lived in it for 2 years while we saved up to buy a house. And then we bought a foreclosure because it was so much cheaper.
Yeah. It sounds like your dad gave you an amazing lesson just at being financially intelligent, which is set like a very good foundation for what you're doing today. Because to Chauncey's point, to achieve this lifestyle is really difficult, and it's very common people get trapped in the rat race and they spend exactly as much as they make or sometimes more, and just, they wonder like, how do you afford to take 5 months, let alone a year and a half off to go do something like this? And it sounds like you have been instilled with this knowledge from a very young age about just different revenue streams and making money while you're not working and all these other things.
And a lot of it's philosophy too. Like I've learned more since I got out of college than I ever did in the quote unquote education that we're supposed to get, like just from self-help books. And a lot of people think it's cheesy reading personal development stuff, but if it weren't for the books that I've read and the associations that I've made, no way I'd be where I'm at right now.
Oh, I've read some, since like I said 30 I wanted to learn about finances. Some of the books I've read are just like, I don't know, the difference of where I would be right now in terms of the grasp I feel like I have, like the control I have over the direction I'm going is night and day. And yeah. That's why I didn't like when you said I don't want it to seem conceited when we first went down this part of the hole, because there can be that misconception of like, I don't know, like not great. But I think that's something where if you want to do like hiking forever, like we've tried to get different people on the podcast and we're still working on it who can talk about this more specifically. But I think these are like such smart skills to learn, because so many people are like, oh, I would love to do this forever. And it's like, well, like there are things that I wish I knew when I was 18, 19, 20 about just like how to like even how money works,
Yeah.
Not like, oh, go buy this stock or go do this or that, but just how money works and how just the world works in general. You know?
Like whenever we went on that road trip to Sierra National Park, like I hear a lot of stories of people saying, I sold all my stuff. Mm-hmm. Don't do that. Rent it out. You're not using it, rent it out. And so literally renting our house out funded our travels. Mm-hmm. We came back with more money than when we left.
What tips do you have for someone whose like interest is piqued at this part of the interview?
Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Learn more. I mean, there's a lot of times where people thought that I was weird and I was stupid and I wasn't doing the things that I should be doing because I had no social life in college. Like, college was go to class. I would literally change clothes in the parking lot because I had to go to work. I would get off at work at 1. I would come home. I would do my homework. I would go to sleep around 2 or 3 in the morning, repeat the next day. Mm-hmm. Because I didn't want any college debt.
Yeah.
I wanted a clean slate. I didn't want to start life with debt.
And I think that's an important lesson in it too, is it takes an extreme amount of sacrifice
Yeah.
because like you're watching your friends go out to the bar and have a good time, and you're working.
Yeah, people don't understand how much I've sacrificed.
Well,
Like,
that's the delayed gratification you're
Totally,
talking about.
yeah, same.
but I all these philosophies I take to hiking. Like, a lot of the stuff that I learned in finance and business is stuff that has helped me with FKTs.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of books would you recommend someone? Because we have listeners that are 18, 19, 20, and they are like, hey, instead of going to college, I want to do a gap year. I want to go hike the AT. And they fall on this podcast. What kind of books would you tell someone to read? I think that's better than even like tips to give.
So I think belief plays a huge part in anything. And it sounds super corny, but if you believe it, you can achieve it. It's true. So The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz made a huge impact on my life. Start with Why by Simon Sinek. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Anything by Robert Kiyosaki.
Is that Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Yeah, great, and he makes it in a very simple, easy to understand format. And the thing is, once you truly understand what an asset is versus a liability, changes everything. We've been taught in society to think that the house we live in is an asset. It's not. It's a liability. If you're renting it out, that's an asset.
Right.
And the thing is, like, I mean, there was at one point I had a vending machine route.
Did you go down that route? I've gone down a rabbit hole, like, you know how you get those TikTok algorithms? I've gotten the TikTok algorithm of, have you heard about vending machines?
No, I was like, there's a machine there selling stuff, and I don't have to be there. That sounds like a great idea.
Was that profitable for you?
It was when I was doing it.
Because
Now,
I feel like now it's oversaturated. No?
I don't do it anymore because pop has gotten more expensive. I said pop again.
There it is.
Yeah, I thought you said Papa there.
I mean, for 5 hours of work a month, it brought in about $1,500. And then eventually, now here's another cool part, is the vending machine is an asset. So if you're done with it, you can sell the asset. So whenever we started traveling full time, I had someone else servicing them for me, but they weren't servicing them as often. And then, you know, something, and then of course, you know, I was giving them a percentage. And so then my percentage was lessened. And then I got to the point where I was like, okay, I don't think this is worth it anymore. So I sold the vending machines and we bought a Volkswagen van. But if we'd never had the vending machines, we wouldn't have ever had the van that we traveled, you know, the country in.
Are there specific opportunities? Chance mentioned that she thinks vending machines are oversaturated at this point.
Well, I don't know. I just think by the time that there's a TikTok algorithm that keeps pushing it in your face, that probably is what that means.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Well, with the cost of gas now and with the cost of pop, it eats into your profits very fast. Like, I would have had to drastically increase the prices on those machines to remain profitable. And again, I'm really cheap myself. I don't feel right selling something that I wouldn't want to buy. Like, I don't feel right charging a high price for something. Like, I don't think it's probably not the right word, but I don't feel like it's morally right to sell a 12-ounce can of pop for $1.25.
Yeah, you're not sticking a vending machine at Scissors Crossing.
Yeah, like...
Though that would be sick.
So are there specific opportunities that you think a young, eager, potentially entrepreneurial mind could pursue and it be a profitable venture for them?
Knowing what I know now, I would do everything possible. Okay, and I know it's super hard now because of interest rates and everything, but buy a house, go into it with someone else if you have to. Don't even live in it. Get a travel trailer, live in your backyard in the travel trailer, and rent the house out.
Would you suggest maybe a multifamily home over a single family if that's the case?
So we looked in duplexes and stuff like that. Okay, so something else I've realized in renting is you want to hire quality tenant, because the cheaper the rent, the lower quality tenant you're going to attract, and then you're going to have problems. But if you're renting to a higher quality, they take better care of the place. You're not going to have problems. You're not going to have headaches. And I think I mean, I'm still figuring stuff out myself.
Yeah, I feel like I don't want to give advice that like might take someone a jump past where they should go. I feel like reading books is the first step. Like, not to be a
We are
nerd
not
about it.
financial advisors. You
We're
guys are
not.
responsible for.
Okay.
But I think the books you recommended, like I've heard and read, some of them, like those are really good books, and I think there are a lot of like. I think the first thing someone has to do is just learn like what all this means.
If you have 4 hours to chop down a tree, you need to spend 3 hours sharpening the axe, 1 hour chopping the tree. So you need to spend 3 times as much energy improving yourself and your own mind as much as you spend time in the actual endeavors. And like I said, just reading the books, like that'll send you down a rabbit hole of improvement and mindset. And I'm also a very optimistic person.
Yeah.
Like, I believe anything's possible, and I believe in hope, and I believe that if you want it bad enough, like if your wanter is there, if you want it bad enough, it doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if you know how to do it. You're gonna figure it out along the way.
So this is interesting now to tie it back to the FKT stuff, because I'm curious to know what sort of mental tools you're using to stay determined on the days where you're crying, on the days where you're peeing blood, on the days where you're trapped in a cave during a hurricane, like all these things that are major obstacles. What is going through your mind to keep you driven to complete this thing?
I don't know.
I mean, I have to imagine that the reading, we're talking about financial stuff, but I have to imagine you're talking about how this formed your mindset to be optimistic about being an entrepreneur. Is it also true that this has been a carryover in your endeavors as a backpacker?
100%. Okay, so like in business, you have to associate with the right people. Okay, and in hiking, Josh Perry, if you ever listen to this, thank you, because you raised my belief. Josh Perry made me believe it was possible to do more miles.
Who's Josh Perry?
He's the guy that set the record previously. Okay, now I say that. So Josh Perry did the PCT in 55 days last year. Technically, he's the record I was going after, but there is a guy named Trent Benford Walsh that broke the record the week before I broke it. He did it in 54 days, and I don't think he's gotten the recognition because all of a sudden I broke the record like right after, and then I got the attention. But
He must hate you.
But Trent, dude, he freaking crushed it. To do the PCT in 54 days, like completely under the radar, that deserves some respect. And he was really cool about it. He sent me a message after he finished saying, "Hey, just want you to know, I just finished the trail. This is my time. I'm pretty sure you're on pace to beat me, but I'm at least glad I finished it before you did."
I will say, for like the amount of grief FKTers get for being FKTers, I do see like stories like that where like the sportsmanship is very commendable.
Dude, I mean, Josh was like, it was almost like he wanted me to beat his record. He was telling me everything possible to help me break it.
But you're not the only person who said that. Like, I feel like other people who have gone fast have also like talked about past people who have given them every tip they could. Like I feel like the circle of information is not
there. It's an amazing community.
Yeah.
I mean, and also I wouldn't. Joe McConaughey taught me so much, and I also want to say, like, so Josh Perry had a major issue with the Lion's Head closure when he went through the right, and then he had like heat exhaustion, and he was peeing blood, and he had a major kick. And so when I went into it, I was like, the only way to break his record respectably is to break it by at least a day or two. I'm not going to break the record by an hour.
Yeah, like a technicality.
I will not take that. That's not respectable. Freaking PCT, man, it was amazing.
We should also, I imagine a decent amount of our listeners are familiar with the nuances of FKTs, but I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that aren't. That there's a lot of different classifications. There's supported, there's north to south, south to north. So you hold the overall self-supported FKT faster than the south to north time as well. You went north to south, southbound. Can you outline what self-supported is versus supported and
unsupported? Yeah, so there's 3 categories. Supported means you can have all the sports you want. So if you're going to have some support, you might as well have all the sport in the world that you can have. Like you can have someone carrying your food for you, carrying your water for you, setting up your camp for you, massaging you, feeding you, literally doing anything for you. Self-supported is true through hiker style. You're doing it all yourself. You resupply by yourself. There is... out of respect in the way that Heather Anderson did it, Joe McConaughey did it, don't get in a car. Okay. On other FKTs, other trails that are not like PCT or the AT or something like that, technically according to FKT rules, you can get in a car to resupply as long as you're doing the actual trail by foot. But I think it's funner to have one continuous foot trail anyways. Like that's just something like in your heart. Unsupported, man, if you do unsupported, you're freaking strong as hell. Like, because that bag has to weigh a lot because you cannot resupply anywhere. The only thing you can replenish is water from natural water sources.
And that's not a thing that happens on like the PCT or the AT.
That'd be impossible.
Yeah.
You can't carry that much food.
Right.
Do you think you could bring enough dry rice? Like something like that. I know this is like a bonkers question.
Yeah.
But do you think that there is like a food like rice where you could bring enough of it and like eat meagerly enough? Like I'm not talking like let's crush miles and go fast because we don't have something to beat. But do you think that there's...
Ask the FKT.
That isn't it. Do you think that there's like a grain that you could bring in its raw form that could get you from the start of the PCT to the end?
To only eat one thing?
Yeah, like that would take a level of discipline. But is it possible to carry enough to do that?
Like unsupported?
Yeah.
The whole PCT?
Like, let's say I just ate rice and I had like a 70-pound pack that was like 60 pounds of rice.
Does rice have protein? Like, I don't know if you get enough.
I think
nutrients.
that's where it breaks down.
Yeah.
It's like you're maybe getting enough calories to not die, but yeah, probably not all the things that your body needs to be able to perform at like an athletic level.
Well, because like in my mind, it's just not possible to do it unsupported. But I'm wondering, like, is there a way like the most self-disciplined person could?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have... So again, like I think FKTs are the funnest strategy game in the world, but you have to put in many things in your favor as possible because you are mentally taxed. So I want a variety of food so I don't get burnt out, because if I don't get burnt out, that's one extra thing going for me. I often stole my honey bun from tomorrow's food. So like...
Speaking of delayed gratification.
But I waited till the end of the day.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, here's a question. And I know we're going off of the self-supported realm a little bit, but you mentioned foraging and like the interest in foraging going into this. If you were to forage food along the way, would that be considered unsupported or self-supported, since you're not bringing that food there yourself?
I don't know 100% the answer. Someone told me, Kathleen Egan recently told me that you can forage for food on an unsupported. I assume she's correct. She told me that this morning. So I assume I think I would believe that she's accurate on that.
Yeah. I would think that would just be hard to do.
But also,
PCT
dude, okay, if you learn, like, so if you're slow through hiking, you can collect that stuff, take a packet of salad dressing with you, some hempart seeds, and you can have a freaking awesome salad in the backcountry.
Probably the healthiest meal you'll have
It's
on the trail.
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of my thought, is like an unsupported FKT wouldn't necessarily be like the fast part of the F, you know? It would probably be very slow, but I'm wondering if it's like someone could do it with like an extremely large time.
Oh, I see.
You see what I'm saying? Like if you're like
if
you're
could forage,
like you are getting the FKT because no one else is doing it, and it's a long FKT, but no one else is doing it, so there's no time to beat. I see the gears kind of turning.
maybe, I don't know. No, I will say I'm not.
It's a thinker, isn't it?
There's some stuff I want to say, but I'm not ready for the world to know.
Okay.
On
I
that
could like if you're watching this on YouTube, a plug, but you can see the gears turning in your head. I don't know what they're turning towards, but you could see them kind of turning.
Yeah. I'm not happy with the time I did on the PCT.
Why?
I think I could do better
Where do you think you could have trimmed time?
if I had more calories. Okay, so now I really wanted sub 50 days. And now if you take the 39 hours out of my 52 days and 9 hours, that's not quite 50 days. Like, so some of that's not on me. I can't blame the hurricane. Okay, so have you ever like been in an audience or an experience where someone like tells you to raise your hands up as high as you can?
I'm sure at some point in life.
Okay, so like raise your arms as high as you can. Okay, are they as high as you can go?
In this position, probably.
Okay, stretch your fingers a little bit higher. Can you go a tiny bit higher? Just go a tiny bit higher.
Yes.
Did you go higher?
I did.
All right, so you didn't go as high the first time when I told you to go as high as you could.
True.
That's the thing. We can always stretch more than we think we can. So like on the PCT, I thought I gave it my all. I really did. And I was fried. Like it was taxing. But if I look back on it, and if I knew that I was only going to be 53 minutes behind Carl Saba's original supported time, I would have found a way to go 53 minutes faster. I could have stretched higher. Now, if I could have done that, how higher could I have stretched?
I think this is my closing question based on that. For you, when would you say enough is enough? Because that's like that was a fun exercise we did, and that's like a great mindset to have. But when does enough become enough? Like when is good enough enough?
If I look back on my life, I feel like I go in cycles. So I'm gung-ho, obsessed with something for like 4 to 5 years, and then I switch. I don't know. I'm at 5 years, and I want to do it more. So I don't know. This might be a longer window. Like I was really into guitar, like, and music. Like I went to school for music. I was in bands. I was playing guitar like probably.
I think you were playing guitar when you were a clean cut version of you. Now you've got the dreadlocks. Think about how much better you'd be at guitar nowadays.
He's gonna go home and play guitar now.
Yeah, just shred.
He's gonna
just
shred.
fucking melt faces.
No, I just want to hike. I'm obsessed. I don't think my wife will let me, but I want to redo. I want to redo.
You want to redo the PCT?
I want to do it better.
Would you go southbound again?
I would probably go northbound next time just to mix it up, but I want to do it in the proper way. I want to give it what it deserves.
Well, based on what you told us, by my standards, it felt like you gave it all. Again, that's my standards. I believe that you think that there's more in the tank. And
you missed the exercise.
The stretching, yeah. But, I mean, this has been very inspiring. The fact that this started with a poop story, we veered off to financial advice. We brought it full circle back to mentalities for doing FKTs. We've touched a lot of ground here. Do you want to take a guess as to how long we've been recording?
I'm going to guess more than an hour.
We're at 2 hours.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize.
This is standard.
My point is that time flies when you're having fun. We had fun. This is a
Yeah, was
great
it as
conversation.
nerve-wracking as you thought it would be?
Once we started talking, it was easier.
Yeah.
I was real nervous at the beginning.
Hey, you fell into it good. It was good.
On the subject of entrepreneurship and passive income, let's talk about your book, Itch, a Pacific Northwest Trail Story. When did this get published? And I know we talked about the PNT a little bit, but give us the sales pitch here.
So the itch is really when I developed an itch to go after the PCT. So it's actually not published yet,
Okay.
but it's about to be.
Do you have a date?
My goal was by Thanksgiving. It might not happen by Thanksgiving, but it'll be for sure before the end of the year.
I know book timelines are very tough. Are you self-publishing?
Yes.
Yeah, and you have to do everything.
Oh my gosh, like, wow. But before I started the PCT, I thought I had the book ready to publish when I was done.
Yeah.
And it was actually part of my... I knew I would get a little bit of publicity from the PCT, and I was like, it might help with book sales.
Sure. It's like any good home project where you've got 5% left, and that 5% is actually 90% of the work.
But I mean, so Jeff Garmeyer has read it, and he wrote my foreword for me, and he said it's relatable to any thru hiker, not just FKTers, because I learned so much along the way. I mean, I was failing and messing up every single day. Like it was a thru hike. I was exploring stuff, like getting sidetracked, looking at starfish,
I noticed that in the promo video.
It was fun. It was so fun, and I didn't realize how much I was going to enjoy FKTs. But I think I hope it inspires people to realize that you don't have to know how to do what you want to do. Like, you can just go after it and figure it out along the way.
I think that's very inspiring. You've got a lot of sage wisdom to pass along, and clearly good stories as well. So I hope people check out the book when it does come out. This episode comes out on December 18th. So
It'll probably be out by then.
Cool. We'll make sure to include the link to that in the show notes, of course.
If you're listening and you are interested in it, the website is pntbook.com.
That is correct. Pre-orders are up.
Yeah, so you can currently pre-order it at the date of recording. If you scroll down, there's a button to do it. But it is pntbook.com if you're wondering the status of it when you're listening currently.
And social media and anything else that people should know about.
I'm not real big on social media. I've been told that I need to post more. So I've been trying to. I don't really know how to do it right.
Coming on podcast is good too. So
Yeah,
you're doing all right.
But on Instagram, it's Nick Fowler says hi with a dot between each word.
Cool. Sweet. Nick, this has been a ton of fun. It went in some directions that we weren't expecting, which is always the best conversations. So congratulations, and thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks.
To the Trek propaganda portion of today's show. This first one is, or I guess the article that I'm going to feature is kind of a tearjerker for AT hikers. The title is Appalachian Trail Landmark Over Mountain Shelter to be removed. And as of this recording, it's been removed. I saw the video. And for those who are not familiar, the Over Mountain Shelter, I would say, is the most iconic shelter on the entire AT. It's a giant red barn. What about a half mile off trail?
Yeah, and it's got so much history to it too. Like, if you like the over mountain part, not to get nerdy here, but there is an immense amount of history for like the over mountain men and like their part in the Revolutionary War and just everything about being on the path they took. That shelter being like, it wasn't from that time, was it? Or was it built after?
Let's see if it
I
says.
I know they walked that path, but I don't know like if they stayed there too.
Let's see. The article, it says the shelter was originally a barn on private land, which was acquired by the Forest Service in 1979.
Yeah, it's way past the 1700s.
Obviously.
But it's a huge shelter on the AT. Like, I slept on the second floor of it in 2019, and it feels crazy that I slept in the second floor of this barn that was the year later condemned and now torn down. Yeah,
and I did no research on the AT prior to starting, aside from reading Bill Bryson's book, and so I didn't know that this thing was going to be so cool when I rolled up to it, and I remember having a very memorable camp there, and you and I went back there when we did a section of the AT recently.
Harper's been there.
That's right. The pup's been there. Just an icon. Not only is the shelter itself iconic, but the view from there, which will still remain obviously, is one of the best shelter views on the entire AT. So I hope that they make the decision to rebuild it in some form, because that's just such pristine land. But yeah, definitely 2024 AT hikers will be missing out.
Yeah, big flat spot for pitching tents though.
For sure. We're going to skip the second one, but I do want to feature it in an upcoming one, so I'll highlight it. Let's go with the question of the day. I don't know where this came from. I'm assuming this is a Rachel original.
No, I saw this on something.
Okay. Well, then I'll let you introduce it.
What is normal at 3 p.m. but terrifying at 3 a.m.?
Yeah, this could be a triple crown, because I've got
got a couple.
Yeah. I'll go with the one that's I mentioned foreshadowing. When he was saying something, I alluded to this. I think what's normal at 3 p.m. that is terrifying at 3 a.m. is exercise.
Why are you exercising at 3 a.m.?
If you're an FKTer and you're soaking wet and you have to be hiking at high speeds to stay warm, that can be a terrifying experience.
Yeah, night hiking is scary.
Yeah, I'm happy to be exercising at 3 p.m. I was today. But if I'm exercising at 3 a.m., something's wrong, I think.
Yeah. I mean, once the sun sets it is 3 a.m. No matter what time it actually is, it might as well be 3 a.m. Yeah.
Totally.
It's scary. I think we should just bang through ours. I'm going to go with house sounds.
Yep.
Your house making any type of normal house sound, like a pipe making a pipe noise, a creek making a creek noise, like any of the crickety crackities. Normal at 3 p.m. you don't hear it. 3 a.m. you're like, who's in my house?
Totally. I'm going to go with someone at your door.
I have that. Knock at your door.
Yeah. We have a ring cam, so anyone that walks nearby our house, we get a notification. At 3 p.m., I'm just assuming it's somebody, canvassing to sell their whatever yard project. At 3 a.m., the assumptions are worse.
Yeah, it's like murder or murder.
Yeah.
Basements.
Basements are spooky for sure.
They are super approachable at 3 p.m. I will go down there and switch a load of laundry. 3 a.m., no, the clothes will sit in the wet washer until the morning.
A phone call?
I have a call from your parents.
Apparently we're on the same wavelength there.
Call from your parents at 3 p.m., normal.
Yeah.
Call from your parents at 3 a.m., I am probably panicking before answering.
Even a telemarketer called, they have the decency to not call at 3 a.m. Like, I've gotten some late calls. I've gotten like 8 and 9 p.m.s, but I've never gotten a 3 a.m. So
No.
if my phone's ringing,
That's an emergency.
it's either an emergency or one of your friends is drunk.
I will also add in, like, your pets moving around. Like, we watched our friend's pet for the weekend. Well, I watched the pets for the weekend. They went to a bachelor party last weekend, and Bindy's a bigger dog. She's like a black lab, and she moves around at night. She's 7. She's an old gal, and she moves around at night, and like, she's noisy about it because she's a big gal. And I woke up in the night to just like thuds because she's like moving around the room, like banging into shit. And she's a fucking black lab, so you can't see her in the dark.
Sure.
So I'm just like,
A giant shadow.
I forgot. I don't typically have this dog,
Yeah.
so I forgot that she was there
Yeah.
in my sleep stupor, and I almost had a heart attack.
Yeah. I don't have anything else.
Okay, cool.
Do you?
No, that was it.
Let's do, actually, you have a stupid thing of the week.
Yeah, do yours. I want to hear it.
So this was yesterday. Jenna calls me frantically upstairs. She goes, "Zach, come look at this." I go upstairs and there's a spider on the
I
wall.
saw the photo.
Yeah.
Did you find out what it was?
Yeah. So I posted it. I took a photo of the spider. I posted it on social media. This is going to seem really bad in hindsight. And when I went back to like investigate it further, the spider disappeared.
Oh no.
Nowhere to be found. And after I figured out what it was based on people's feedback, and Elise actually recommended posting it on iNaturalist, which we talked
Smart.
about.
You should have just emailed Sheriff Woody.
Yeah. It's a black widow.
I was thinking that when I saw it.
A large black widow.
And it's missing in your house?
It's nowhere to be found.
With your 3 babies?
Yeah. So, the reason I posted it, I wasn't looking for social media clout. I wanted to preserve its life, but if I would have known it was a black widow, I definitely would have killed it instantly, which I know I'm going to get angry emails about.
I did not get the vibe of social media clout when I saw it.
Yeah,
I also did not get the vibe of I want to preserve its life. I
take spiders outside all the time.
I just got dumb Zach wants to know what animal this is.
Usually
is what I absorbed from that post.
It was close enough to a black widow, but it didn't have
the red part.
Exactly. So apparently that's a male trait, and this is a large female, and apparently the females are more aggressive, is what I'm learning. I don't know.
How do you go home without burning your house down?
We're probably going to get some sort of pest control to come investigate things, because, yeah, your point with if it was just me and Jenna, I don't think I'd care about it, but I can't imagine a black widow is a good thing to have in the house with young kids.
What happens if a black widow bites a baby?
I don't
not to give you fear.
I don't want to know the answer to that. So yeah, we're probably gonna get pest control to come by. But the
Maybe
stupid thing of the week was just I had the opportunity to kill it. It was right. I was on a chair.
Can you get a hotel?
I'm not gonna get a hotel.
Okay.
From what I know, I think black widows are fairly docile. Like, you can get bit if you like sit on it or like you're agitating it, but I think if you're not doing those things, it's probably fine. But
that's a theory to test.
I gotta protect the fam, and I didn't do that, so that was stupid.
I'm not going over there. Ever.
Yeah.
My stupid thing of the week. This can be conveyed to my mom via my dad, because my dad listens. It's so funny. He listens and puts it on like the house speakers. So like it just like my voice radiates throughout
like
the house.
Like a live concert.
Yeah, I learned this when I went home for Christmas last year, where I was just like sitting there and all of a sudden like we were everywhere.
I know Sarah's name. What remind me of your dad's name?
Steve.
Steve. What's up, Steve? How's it going?
So this stupidest thing of the week, I'm doing an honorable mention for my mom. This is my mom's oopsies. And it's pertinent because it relates to Backpacker Radio and it also relates to my outfit. So doubly related. But the double part emphasizes the stupid part, which is, God, it's double stupid. So Christmas, like we'll start from the beginning. Christmas, like just like send me your Christmas list. What do you want? Do you want this? Do you want that? Whatever. So I sent her this scarf that I wanted. And she ordered it, but she accidentally ordered it to my address. So I got a package, and I was like, I didn't order anything from J. Crew, like, unless. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, I drank last weekend. Like, what did I order? Like, what did I order? And I opened it up, and it was my Christmas present. It was this scarf, and I was like, oh my God, she sent it here. And so I messaged her, and I was like, LOL, you sent my scarf here. And now that I've opened it, like, your girl's gonna get some wears in. So that's just like background info to this stupidest thing of the week, which impacted my life today, which is that my mom has a number of Christmas sweaters that like...
What's it, like a ugly Christmas sweater or...
I didn't say the word ugly when I asked her to send it to me because I don't think that was the intent when it was purchased, but she has a number of Christmas sweaters that are particularly Christmassy. This one that I'm referencing specifically has bells on the buttons.
It sounds awesome.
It has.
Are you gonna wear it to the meetup?
Oh yeah, it has bows on the bells, and the entire back of the sweater is like a Christmas living room scene. Like this is a sweater.
Fuck yeah.
And I knew she had a couple, so I was like, how many can you find? Because Mims wants one. Fireball's coming. She could only find this one. I honestly, if we're being truthful, I think I have the vest in my storage unit. I've got to check. But like these are sweaters that age like a fine wine.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I need this sweater. Like, I need it for this meetup because if I don't, I know from last year's Palooza, Mara's going to bring an extra in her suitcase and force me to wear it. And I have no say in what I'm wearing in that case.
Yeah.
So I messaged her last week and I was like, can you send me this sweater? I know you have it and I will bring it home for you at Christmas. I'll bring it back home. Just send it to me. She's like, okay, I will overnight it. And I'm like, that's not necessary, but great, thank you. It's very kind. And so, like, this week, like, Monday goes, Tuesday goes, Wednesday goes, Thursday goes. Now it's Friday. And I'm like, this is a long time for no mail for something that's been overnighted. So I texted her today, and I was like, hey, do you have any tracking info on this sweater? And she's like, yeah, let me find it. And she sends me a photo of the receipt. And I'm looking at the zip code, and it's not my zip code. And I'm like, it says delivered Wednesday, and that's not my zip code, nor was it my old zip code. Like, where did you send this to? She had sent it to Garrett's old apartment, which is, like, it's not that silly because we only moved in July, but it is silly because she accidentally sent my Christmas present to my address. so that proves she knows this is an uh-oh. It's not like a misinformation. Yeah. It's an uh-oh. So today after lunch I had to drive to Garrett's old house and like ring the doorbell and like be like, hey, did you get a box for me? Like, and I was so fascinated with like how I love how people decorate a house after they move into a house you've been in for like I've had moments in this house, I've gotten too drunk in this house. I've stayed up all night in this house. Like I have like seen things in this house. And I'm like looking and like peering past this woman. I've just washed my hair. I just showered. Like I look like a creature that came out from under a bridge. Like I was not ready to go do this errand. And she's like trying to obstruct my view. Like she is very freaked out by me. And I'm like, it looks a lot better than the last people that lived here, which also wasn't me, but like nice house. Like I'm being a fucking weirdo. But stupidest thing of the week is my mom sending her sweater, to Garrett's old address when the record shows for my Christmas present. She knows my address. Yeah.
Did you agree with their design choices?
It looks so much nicer. I mean, like, girls furnishing an apartment is so different than guys furnishing an apartment.
Guys will throw up, like, a Jenny McCarthy poster and call it a day.
No, their furniture looked expensive.
Yeah. Good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them. let's do our Triple Crown. I think this will be a perfect transition based on what you just said, and I'm sure we can dig up enough things here. But this is the Triple Crown of drunk regrets. I was reminded today that this was my submission.
Yes.
Inspired by something in particular, apparently.
Well, it's funny because when you messaged this, I was like, I don't know about this one. Like, I don't have many regrets. And you're like, no, this one will work.
Yeah.
And like adamantly. And then today you're like, and how did we plan on interpreting this one?
It's funny because when I sent the text originally, I answered the exact question that, anyways, yes. Do you want to go first?
Yes. I'm going to take, like we always interpret these differently. I'm going to take these in terms of things I usually regret that I do when drunk. First one, tequila shots. Usually in the moment, and I've said this in a past question of the day, Triple Crown, but in the moment seems like a great idea. Waking up the next morning, that is usually my first, like I usually remember, oh, why do I feel terrible? Oh yeah, there were tequila shots, which is never on my own doing. It's always like it's a kind gesture, and as we learned from the Ice Age meetup, I will chug a,
You'll
Bloody Mary
things. Yeah.
to not seem rude. I think that's my biggest weakness is I will do things dangerous to not seem rude.
Is tequila discernibly worse for you compared to other forms of liquor?
I just think it in its raw form and like not diluted and so fast leads to pain. And that is usually a top regret.
Yeah, people usually talk about like how tequila turns them into a bad person or they get violent or this, that, or the other. Actually, I'm a weirdo. I like tequila drunks. I think that they're a good drunk.
I would love to do a night, not I would love to, but I do love a night where my drink of choice is tequila, but I don't fare well on shots. They are too strong, too fast.
Too furious.
Yeah. Like I think if you are like a type of introverted, which I teeter, but if you are an introverted and like kind of socially uncomfortable person, there is a comfort in having a drink in your hand because then one of your hands are occupied. And then you don't have to worry about what to do with that hand.
Right.
Like that hand is spoken for. Now I only need to worry about what to do with this hand. And then I'll spend probably 90% of my thoughts that night wondering what to do with this one hand.
Yeah. Take shots.
And that's kind of difficult because I've found sometimes I'll drink a little too much because I want to constantly keep a drink in this hand so that this hand is spoken for.
Yeah.
Shots don't satisfy that. They don't keep a drink in that hand. They just compound.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't actually curtail the drinking. It just it makes it additive.
But I don't, like, I would hate to be the rude person to say no, so that's just a bad position for me.
Noted for Palooza.
Yeah, don't do that.
My first one, and the one that inspired this, is I have a great propensity for agreeing to plans when I'm drunk, committing to plans. Because when I'm drunk, I'm gregarious. I'm the yes man. I do everything. And I'm not just doing it to be nice. Like, I actually mean it. And then I wake up in the morning being like, I said what?
I'm a very social person when I'm drunk. And when I wake up, I hate me more than other people for that. And going back to our earlier conversation, I also don't like to be a flake. So I end up doing the plans that I don't want to do, that I commit to when I'm drunk, more often than I probably would otherwise, just because I don't like to be the flake. So I put future Zach in bad situations when I get drunk. Yeah, I'm too friendly.
Yeah. My next one is, I'm going to go with any food decision that happens after midnight. It's usually like, this happens with way less frequency nowadays, but after coming home from the bars, just raiding the refrigerator, and I get creative and I just eat the most unhealthy shit, and like I don't even wait for it to be fully cooked, and it's just like I'm just housing things because I believe that if I put food in my stomach, it's gonna absorb the alcohol and I'll feel better in the morning, and it never works out.
So I was actually gonna give you a flip side there, which is eating before bed when you're drinking is good.
Yeah, I mean, if I would like cook a healthy meal.
Well, no one's expecting that.
Yeah, which I've been to the point in my life where I've done that, and it's not so bad. But I'd say my typical endeavor is like, it's a microwave pizza. It's the thing that is gonna expire in 20 minutes or expired 2 days ago. It's just all the Taco Bell drive-thrus, like all the wrong decisions happen after midnight.
I don't know if I'll call that bad. That could be closet good. My final two. First one is after hours. When you're having fun, everyone wants to do after hours.
The after party.
When you wake up after hours, that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, like, if we're gonna do if we're having after somewhere, it better be where we are. Like, that sounds counterproductive.
Yeah.
I think you need to have a very social partner, which I do for this. But for me, if they mention after hours, like tonight we're going out for someone's birthday, and they've already brought up the idea of where are we going after, it has to be where I am. We need to do after hours at our place. It cannot be anywhere else, because
so you can Irish easily.
I'm not taking the 2 a.m. Uber.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting in an Uber after midnight.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say I'm going to the bathroom at some point, and I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
And I love that, because if you're somewhere else for afters, like, Garrett would have to then Uber home with me when I like make the hey, I've got to go check on my dog excuse.
And you can't Irish at that point.
Right.
Two people disappearing is suspicious.
But then I also, like, my lack of want to do that impacts his, he's so extroverted.
Yeah.
My
so you stick it out.
Lack of battery. Yeah. Either I stick it out or I make him come early. But if we do it where we are, I win. I don't need the Uber. I go to bed when I want. He gets to do his own thing. Yeah. Everything is perfect.
Home court advantage is nice.
Yeah. So after hours is my no-no, with an asterisk that if it happens, it better be where I am.
Sure. I honestly can't think of the last time that I have consumed alcohol after 10 p.m.
Garrett's 2 years younger than me.
Yeah, he's got a motor.
May will be his 30th birthday.
Yikes.
And so he doesn't have the post-30s hang on. Granted, I'm turning 32 in March. It's not like I'm, like, old, super, like, fluent in my 30s, but it gets different.
It definitely is.
And I'm waiting for him to realize, but I don't want to also kill his 20s, you know, like, fuck, I wish I was back there.
Yeah.
And then my second one is, this to me is the smartest move, and there are girls in my friend group that remember to do this every time, and I don't, and I kick myself the next day for forgetting to be this person in the moment. And I'm making a mental note to me tonight to be this person, but a regret I have is not doing waters between drinks.
I have that on my list.
I think the smartest thing you can do on a night out, while satisfying my hand needs to be occupied so I don't need to figure out what to do with both of them, like, fear, is waters between drinks. Order a water between drinks. And my biggest beef is, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but in Denver at least, places that are bars will have the, like, Gatorade water jug and, like, the plastic cups, and you ask them for water at the bar and they point to it, and, like, I have to sit there with them and I'm like, look, I'm not trying to announce to the world that I'm drinking a water out of a plastic cup. Not that I'm, like, ashamed of drinking a water out of a plastic cup, but the whole point of this is I'm trying to space out my drinks, and I want to feel like I'm still doing the same thing. I'm trying to trick myself here, you know? Like, I don't need your fucking plastic cup to do it.
Can you order, like, a club soda and lime?
Yeah, I can. But if, like, then there's the, like, part of me that gets, like, super, like wants to fight for other people when I'm drunk, where I'm like, God, like, I feel for people that choose sobriety as a path. You know, like, they talk about going to parties and, like, there being, like, a lack of options for someone who chooses a sober lifestyle. To go to a bar and ask for a water and be pointed to a fucking Gatorade jug and told to grab a plastic cup is like, I'm sorry, am I not capable of holding glass anymore?
Yeah.
When I'm drinking tequila, you'll hand me a glass cup, but when it's water, I have to have plastic. Like, just fucking put it in a glass cup for me, please.
Yeah. I think they're just trying to maximize their profits because they don't make money on water.
Well, yeah, and I think, like, there's other people at the bar, the water's over there, it's convenient. Like, if you're just going over to have a glass and put it back down, that makes loads of sense. Don't get rid of the gallon. Like, don't get rid of that jug. Yeah. Keep it there. But also, like, if someone comes up to you at a bar and you have that jug available and they're asking you for a water with, like, even, like, a lime in it, like, can't you see what they're doing?
Right.
You know, like, don't point me to the jug. I know the jug's there.
Yeah.
Let me space out my drinks with the water in between so I don't forget. And let me, like, not announce to the world I'm spacing out my drinks. Not that I'm ashamed that I'm doing it, but, like, I don't need to have that fucking conversation with people.
Sure.
That's my choice.
Yeah.
So I get like secondhand mad for people that choose sobriety because I think that that's kind of fucked and like makes them feel like I would feel like I'm being treated like a child if I'm pointed towards the kids' table with a plastic cup.
Sure.
But I forget to do that when I'm drinking, and I always hope that I remember, and sometimes I forget. And the difference you feel in the morning when you put a glass of water between your drinks, it's great.
Yeah, that's why I like a house party setting, because I'm actually, in those circumstances, I'm very good at consuming water. And shout out to our sponsor. I usually do the giant Nalgene, 1.5 liters with electrolytes.
Me and Mims made Element Mark because I told her that we did the video that got taken off Instagram, which we're still trying to figure out why. I think it's because we had alcohol in it, which is counterproductive because all of our videos have alcohol. We haven't figured it out, but I told her about the backcountry margs, and we made one last weekend before we went to get dinner, and I didn't feel as hungover the next day. I think that's the move.
Electrolytes help a lot for sure, and yeah, just housing water. I like the jug. I hear what you're saying, and I agree with it, not countering it, but I like the jug because when I go to refill the water, I'll slam at least one, usually two. And then I'll come back with the little kid's cup of water too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Don't get rid of it.
Yeah.
But just like understand that I have the ability to think thoughts. And like if I wanted it from the jug, perhaps I wouldn't have waited behind 5 drunk people to ask you for a water.
Totally. Yeah.
What I usually do is I'll find like a host or like someone who's like doing something, and I'll like very politely be like, hey, I know that like I'm an annoyance to you right now. Would it be like would it be troubling to ask for a glass of water? And I'll kind of explain why to them. Mm-hmm. And they are the sweetest people at the bar every single time. The sole person trying to do closeout tasks or do something is the kindest person in that setting.
Yeah. My last one is this is current day Zach. I think 20 Zach would not agree with this, but my biggest drunk regret is anything beyond 4 drinks. Anything beyond 4 drinks, I'm even with good water consumption, I'm guaranteeing a hangover. 4 drinks seems to be the cutoff at which I can function like a pretty normal human being the next day. At drink 5, especially with young kids, it's just the next day is hell. So, but it's once you get going, it's fun. It's hard to stop, but it's always a regret.
Yeah. I wish I could know a number like that. I feel like there's so many factors. Like if I'm excited about like where I'm going to eat that night, sometimes I just like won't eat leading up to it because I want to save the excitement
you want
for
to be
that.
very hungry.
Yeah, like today I had green beans for lunch because I'm excited that we're going to this restaurant for dinner.
Yeah.
Which like that's a whole different bag of worms, but days I do that versus days I'm a normal, well-adjusted adult, like the number differs.
Yeah.
You know,
and then you're drinking on an empty stomach. That can be dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let us know your drunk regrets, I guess, in the Instagram post. I'm sure this will go out as a Triple Crown question for you guys. Yep. Let's go to the 5-star review.
Yes, this is going to age us a bit. Bodcat, Iceland, 5 stars. Hey, Chance and Badger. 5-star rating all the way, smiley face. I'm very excited to hear you are taking a trip to Iceland. Or not.
Maybe eventually.
There were some logistical things. I was just there this summer and had an absolutely amazing time hiking and trying to pronounce any Icelandic words I came across. 2 friends and I completed the Lagavur. Is this why you made me Lagavur Trail, and did the extension. Fucking hell! And did the extension of Fimmvörðuháls, making a total of just over 54 miles over 4 nights, 5 days. It was amazingly beautiful, and I hope you do it and will enjoy as much as we did. And a note on the Icelandic food. Most of it is very tasty and definitely different from anything you'll get at home. Fermented shark is best with lots of alcohol, and don't pass up the plokkfiskar. Have a great trip. P.S. You mentioned recently that you pack most efficiently when you have to use a bear canister. For shorter trips, I've been known to use a canister for the packing part, then ditch the canister if it's not required to, and put everything in the Ursack instead. Many hugs from Washington State, Horton.
Thank you, Horton. I have heard nothing except for consistently amazing things about Iceland. So yeah, eventually we would love to make it out there. We're not going out there in the capacity that we said previously, but definitely sits high atop the bucket list for sure. If you guys want to have your review on the website, on the podcast, and we'd be very grateful if you did, head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us any number of stars, just not 1, 2, 3, or 4, and we will read it. It's also been a minute. Actually, that's not true. We're getting messages now through the new website, so shout out to you guys. We don't have one lined up for this episode, but we will soon. But if you guys want to get in touch with us, head to backpackerradio.com, and there's a form at the bottom of the website to leave us a email, or you can just send us an email at podcast@thetrek.co.
And also, if you've already sent one, I know this is coming out in the future. It's November 17th when we're recording. But we did have a number of people write to us through the website already, even though we've only plugged in on a few episodes. Top-notch fans, guys. A-plus listeners, MVP listeners, whatever. What do you call them?
All-stars. Yeah, MVP is good.
Thank you, because we have put a number of hours, a number of time is what I was going to say, into the website. As rudimentary as it is to start, there's still improvements that we have planned to make. We got to set another meeting for it, but it feels very good and worth the use of our time to do something like that. When you are so quick to jump on it and make use of it, it just makes it feel worthwhile. That we put the effort into making that available. So thank you if you've already sent a message through it. It feels good.
Yeah. And that was Chauncey and I sitting huddled over computers as we didn't outsource that one. So this was a labor.
This is a Zach and Chauncey OG.
Yeah. And mostly Chauncey. So well done, Chauncey. A super big thank you to our Chuck Norris Award winners on Patreon. That is Alex and Misty with Navigators Crafting, Andrew, Austin McDaniel, Austin Ford, Brad and Blair from 13 Adventures, Brent Stenberg, Brian Alsop,
Hey, balls.
Christopher Marshburn, Coach for Marion Outdoors, Dane,
Ish.
Derek Cook, Eric Casper,
The Friendly Ghost,
Greg McDaniel, Iron Hike Endurance Productions, Liz Seeger, Matt Sukup, Mike Poisel, Patrick Ciencialo, Sawyer Products, Spam, Timothy Hahn,
Solo,
and Tracy Trigger. Thanks. You can follow us on social at Backpacker Radio on Instagram and TikTok, at Backpacker Pod on X, Facebook.com/Backpacker Radio. You can follow Chauncey.
You can find me on Instagram at Juliana_Chauncey, and you can get my book Hiking from Home, a long distance hiking guide for family and friends on Amazon. And today's sticker code is...
Oh, I missed that part. What is today's sticker code? Today's sticker code is... What is the most instrumental book that you've read?
Love that.
We did a book section in the interview today, and I think that's a good one to share. He was going through his list of books. I'll add a couple that I've given a shout out to this one, but this was very... transformational at the time in my life that I read it. The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. He writes about mini retirements, which was the thing that largely inspired me to get on the AT. And in terms of money stuff, I'm a big fan of a book by, I think it's Ramit Sethi, I Will Teach You How to Be Rich.
Mm-hmm. I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Mm-hmm. It's a great book.
Yeah.
The book recommendation I will give, also in terms of finances, like I said during the episode, my goal of 30 is just figure this stuff out. I was getting extreme anxiety, panic attacks every April when tax season would come around, mainly because the podcast is 1099 income, it's not taxed, and then you pay taxes in April. Long story short is, as we've grown, it has gotten crippling, to put it lightly, for that surprise to come. If anyone is familiar with financing and listening to this, you'll be banging your head on the wall hearing me say that, because you'll realize there's ways to improve that. So it got to the point where it was just I need to figure this out, right? This isn't sustainable to my well-being. And Elise had recommended and actually lent me her physical copy, which I haven't given back yet, of The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. And I kept that on my shelf for about 6 to 8 months before I read it, because it was just I'm not interested in this yet. It's kind of a task. It's a chore. It's a to-do list. And I just don't feel when this is going to open more doors, and I don't want to go down this yet, because I don't want to, it's going to open more things. It's going to be more effort. I enjoyed that book so much. It made things feel so simplified and explained and within reach for myself, that it made everything so much more approachable for me. And that was a great book to start on. So if you are just interested in any way of how to be like our guest today, or people like, you know, Twinkle or whoever we've had on who do hiking as a lifestyle and aren't, you know, like Nepo babies. Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins was very interesting to learn about what I didn't even know existed.
Good plug. Subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you consume podcasts. Follow us on YouTube. We had a few standout moments that ought to be seen on today's show, including Sean's putting some foot skin on my laptop, which was not appreciated. But yeah, definitely be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss that stuff. And that's it for today's podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and happy hiking.
Bye.